about fame, it ain't about fake friends. And screw your ex, is such a flake. Forget your grades, you need a break. It's all about you, no matter what the others say. But now I'm done talking, the lights on me. I tell you, I guarantee this night's about to take a turn for the better. Now the rain is pouring and all I see is lightning around my feet. Now nothing can bring me down. I just wanna dance till my heart goes la la la. I just wanna dance. I just wanna dance till my heart goes la la la. I just wanna dance. I just wanna dance till my heart goes la la la. I just wanna dance. I just wanna dance till my heart goes la la la. I just wanna dance. It ain't about money, it ain't about the coolest job. It's about having fun and love the ones that makes you shine. It's all about you, no matter what the others say. But now I'm done talking, the lights on me. I tell you, I guarantee this night's about to take a turn for the better. Now the rain is pouring and all I see is lightning around my feet. Now nothing can bring me down. I just wanna dance till my heart goes la la la. I just wanna dance. I just wanna dance till my heart goes la la la. I just wanna dance. I'm done talking, the lights on me. I tell you, I guarantee this night's about to take a turn for the better. Now the rain is pouring and all I see is lightning around my feet. Now nothing can bring me down. I just wanna dance till my heart goes la la la. I just wanna dance. I just wanna dance till my heart goes la la la. I just wanna dance. Come on and shoot me down. Come on and shoot me down. Shoot me down. I will always get up again. Always get up again.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the Division 1 Finals, AGL Collegiate, between the number 1 Texas A&M Maroon team versus the number 3 Michigan team. I am ChizU, member of A&M Gray Div 2. I'm also joined by NotAValveGame, aka Valve. Valve, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty okay. Just lost an OSL, but we'll move on from that. It's not the
Doesn't
focus right now.
matter. Doesn't matter. Look, this game, we have so much stakes on this game. There's so much good story. There's so much good history between both of these teams. We are locked in today for a great set of matches. Just to set the baseline, both teams have won championships in the past. A&M Maroon, most recently, this past fall. A&M Maroon has a chance to be the first ever back-to-back champion, and at this point, both teams are trying to be the first school in AGL Collegiate to win both major semesters, fall and spring. These teams know each other very well. These teams have played with and against each other plenty of times. There's so much to talk about. I'm so excited for this game.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I've actually had a chance to talk to both these teams, and I think a big focus in these picks and bans is actually going to be that solo lane. Both teams think that specifically SDF Deathfang, Super Deathfang,
David himself.
has the potential to just run this match.
Mhm.
Um, I know Deathfang as the kind of guy who takes a few picks. He looks at, okay, I like this pick, and this pick. And he just hyper focuses on them. Like the first one I remember off the top of my head being Ratatosker. But right now I know he's looking at like the Kuzenbo. He's a Vamana player. And Vamana just got some good items to him. So
Yep.
he might be looking to prioritize that. But I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan throws some bans that way.
Well, in much the same way that A&M Maroon plays through their solo lane and Super Death Fang, we have to talk about the two backliners of Michigan, Eric, Kano. They are very, very solid players and are kind of what Michigan tends to play through. There's so many interesting picks they could go with, and they have a very similar opportunity to almost run the lobby the way that David Super Death Fang can.
Well, yeah, I think so too. Just from Kano, this is a quote from Kano. As long as Eric doesn't troll, we should be good. I know.
Not every
I've
game.
teamed with Control. I've teamed with Control before. He's a very good carry player. He does sometimes tend to get a little aggressive, but sometimes aggression is good. He's very vocal. He knows what he wants to do. He has a plan, and he makes sure that people know that's what he
Yeah.
wants to do.
Yeah, and I know that Maroon generally plays a very aggressive game, but I know Michigan talks a lot of aggressive game. So, I mean, it's a very interesting matchup, and I'm so super excited to see how we play it out here. Some final things that we really needed to kind of talk about in terms of this match. It's going to be a best of 5, so first to 3 games total. And I know that as of right now, I believe A&M Maroon will have first pick of game 1. And yeah, that's everything that I have. Any other notes before we jump into picks and bans?
I did ask them, both teams, what they think the score line's going to be at the end of it.
Yep.
Maroon, this comes from Control. They said 3-0 in their side. Kano, the other side, says 3-1 because Eric is going to troll one of the games.
Damn.
So, both teams think they're going to win this, and I'm excited to get into these picks and bans just to dive into game one.
Well, I think that may be it here. As we move into picks and bans, we are just about to start game 1 here, and we're gonna go step by step here. Let's look and see what the bans, both sides. I know A&M Maroon is gonna be on the first pick of this draft, and I'm excited to see, especially what bans they have against Michigan's backliners. And just as I say that, they banned the Terra. So,
I
what do you
mean,
see in this Terra ban here?
Terra's just a solid support, good healing, really good team fight, solid CC, and safety with the knock up and knock back immunity that comes with placing her abilities down. The new being able to cast her one while it's not upgraded is also really strong for her early game clear. Takes a lot of the weaknesses the character had before out, especially with clearing in the early buffs. So it's definitely a strong ban, and maybe it's also a comfort pick for Pies of Doom. I don't know.
Hmm. Well, I also know Farron told me personally that Terra is easy. That is why it's a ban. So there you
That's
go.
fair.
Terra ban. coming straight out of the gates. And next we see Michigan's ban. I'm very curious to see how. I mean, is this going to be a five ban on Super Death Fang?
I
This is
wouldn't be surprised if Kuzumbo was banned out here. Deathfang's
oh,
been loving that pick. But
and
Vamana is the first ban.
Vamana. Now look, Super Death Fang at the beginning of the split came out of the gates strong and pretty much got like number something in the world on Vamana like, early on in the split. There was YouTube video talked about how much of he's a Vamana spammer. We also see in response, Odin gets banned. Um, Odin followed by Dodgy, followed by Honor. What are we thinking with those three?
Well, the Dodgy ban, I think, is taking away Wavy's comfort pick. I know Wavy does really like the Dodgy, so take it away from him. It's a pick he likes and something aggressive, forces relics. A Bologna ban away, another Death Fang pick that he likes to run. And
Absolutely.
Vulcan first pick.
This
That is ambitious.
And this is something that I heard. This is something that Maroon specifically wanted. Super Death Fang specifically wanted a first pick Vulcan, and they get it. Let's see what the vision is. I'm curious to see how this plays out. Immediately, Toth, a well-known Eric Deg pick, and Osiris more than likely going into the solo lane.
Yeah, the Osiris does have a bit of flex into the jungle, but I do think it's probably going solo, especially with the new item Equinox coming in. It is
Yeah.
just so powerful in that role. 2,200 gold for such an effective item. Erlong Shen might be the response to it, but the Osiris Thoth are just two solid picks.
I
And a
have
Wukong
a
response is just kind of
I have
expected.
I have a sneaking suspicion that Erlong is absolutely going jungle. This is something that we saw from Wavy in the semifinals against the St. Ambrose Bees, and it was crazy. It was dominant. Wukong, David pick written all over it. He's picked this several times throughout the season. He likes it.
I mean, Wukong's also just, I think, the best solo laner in the game right now. Into the auto attackers, you push the 2 button, and they can't really do much to you. The Erlong Shen's good setup for the Vulcan, and it's also just a really good pick right now for the Bull Demon King that now spawns on solo side in the Fire Giant pit. That's a really important objective that can get your team ahead, and not a lot of people think about it. And I think these teams will be prioritizing it, especially the team with the Erlong Shen. But a
We see,
Yamoja ban coming out from Michigan.
yeah, we see last pick Sobek on Michigan. Pi is going to be grabbing that. And as we move along, Yamoja ban and then an Uller ban. What do they see in the Uller?
Something that Kano's going to try to be aggressive with, most likely.
Yeah, I know Kano
Um,
likes the Uller pick.
It's probably a comfort and aggression pick. He's trying to maybe style on control here with the Uller, but it's
And we
definitely a high poke, high burst pick.
Yep. Then we see the Athena pick going directly at Farron once again. 2 Guardian bans, and then we see finally a Tsukuyomi ban, which is I believe the most picked jungle for Brandon. I believe he picked Tsukuyomi 5 times throughout the course of this season. So that looks like a target ban in terms of just highest played, highest comfort. And yeah,
Maybe
that
it
wraps
is.
up the bans. We know that Athena ban going against Farron. Farron has played it a few times this season, showed some capability with it. Tsukuyomi obviously
It's
is picked 5
Osiris
times.
jungle.
It looks like that may be Osiris jungle as Cthulhu gets picked up, and that's not entirely out of the picture. We've seen the Cthulhu played several times this season by the best of all 16. Yeah, that's a fair pick. I don't know. I mean, comp wise, Wukong,
I
Cthulhu. How does that work? What do you think?
Wukong can do whatever he wants. And Cthulhu can't really respond. The
Well,
big thing is the Osiris is going to have to be at blue buffs because Erlong Shen, some Wukong, is going more than likely going to invade every single one. At least if I'm Maroon, I'm looking at every single blue buff, trying to put this Cthulhu down. And I'm picking a ADC that builds kin size, and I'm going to shred him late game because he's behind. He's not going to have his mid guard on time. He's not going to be effective in these fights because he's going to get absolutely shredded as this gigantic target.
yeah,
But
there's plenty of gods that are meet the criteria that are still on the board here. I see Charon being hovered right now. I'm liking that pick. I know that Farron likes that pick quite a bit. I know it's a bit of a comfort pick. Yep, and we see Hachi. Control 8, Antonio, he's going Hachi, which is pretty much meets all the criteria you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, Ken size ADC with extra damage with that one ability, super safe into the Osiris, Cthulhu, even in the back too. The only thing is Thoth might snipe him, but you better be on time with that Aegis. You don't make it to the final round without being on time with those Aegises. But
Yeah,
the
and at
Charon,
that
I think, is a good pick just to sit by this Vulcan and Hachiman and just give them shields.
Yeah. And hopefully at that point, the Charon and the Wukong provide enough kind of disrupt on the front line to keep that Toph away from Hachi. But realistically, I'm liking this comp right now. I see what I'm seeing from the A&M Maroon so far is a lot of comfort. I'm seeing Erlong, something that was played just in the semifinals, just a little bit ago, by Wavy in the jungle. Wukong, David Pick written all over it. Hachi was played almost exclusively this season, like 6 times this season. And then Heimdall is picked. That concludes Michigan's draft.
I don't know if I like the Heim as much as maybe another ADC. I understand the appeal of it. It's safe into the Wukong and the Erlang, but are you killing Wukong with a Heim? Maybe. I don't know. It's gonna be difficult, but I think the safety is what they were looking for, and the Heimdall does provide that.
Yep. Well, all right. That completes both drafts. Who won? Who lost? You tell me. What's going on?
Maroon won, I think. It's just Maroon has Death Fang's on the best solo laner in the game. Wukong, in my opinion at least. Erlong Shen's a super powerful jungler. They've got extreme burst damage, good objective secure that doesn't need to charge up like Thothult does. They've got really good solo pressure. They've got decent duo pressure. And they have ways to survive the dive.
Yeah. I mean,
Michigan has a team fight comp, and Maroon's comp is a team fight comp that does it better.
Yeah. I mean, I think Michigan, I mean, the draft, I think there's some picks in there that's possibly comfort, some picks that I know like the Toth pick is absolutely comfort for Eric, and that will be a big time play moving forward. But I don't know. I like the Maroon comp myself personally, but the only way to know whose comp is truly better is to test it out. And so it is my great pleasure to introduce our casters. It will not be us. It will be Anthony Malum, Frog. They will be taking over from here on out. And upcoming now, it's game one.
Hello, welcome into Smite game. It's AGL, it's Division 1 Collegiate Finals. Like they said, I'm Anthony Malum, joined by Frog. Red Rosie Panda is going to be pushing buttons on production. Thank you for the intro, guys. Frog, welcome in.
I'm excited for this one, Anthony. These matchups, the setup on the desk, the all season long, all the indicators of a great finals match that we have in front of us, and now all of it is looming, and I'm like, I've got all this energy, and it's only game one. Like we could be here for a while.
Me too. I had the same problem.
Yeah, we could be here for a while, but I mean, this game one, a good one to set the tone, and right off the bat, I think the desk broke it down extraordinarily well. I think A&M Maroon have come far and away with a better draft here in game one. So it's already, I think, an uphill battle for Michigan to think about how they want to fight into this game.
It's definitely not going to be easy. They've got to pick their spots and pick their fights. Notably, a blink for that Osiris jungle, so full committal on going as aggressive as possible. Maybe that's the answer, but looking for those answers, looking for ways for Michigan to get ahead early, Frog. What kind of lane are we paying attention to early if you were a viewer right now?
Yeah, it's definitely solo, and I think Valve called this out perfectly. The Cthulhu is something that, while it's got a lot of positives on paper, it's certainly going to benefit you in the team fight. The early laning phase, and especially on this newer patch, the 11.4 changes that come through that benefit auto attackers and introduce that Bull Demon King over on the right-hand side. The pressure disparity is going to be a constant focus here. Wukong is going to be pressuring this Cthulhu, and while you have similar pressures in the jungle, Osiris versus Erlong Shen can go either way if they're going to end up in a 1v1. when you pair the 2v2 together and you look at that BDK, you look at that blue buff invade potential on the right-hand side, and you even start to get those mid laners involved. Both teams here having some aggressive, easy to rotate, high early damage mid laners. That fight is something A&M Maroon is going to be looking for time and time again. Something Michigan is going to have to find an early answer to. At the very least, they should be focusing on their blues.
Here comes Maroon looking for the dual lane gank. Wavy here early, but an early dash from Pies to find some safety. Control got so low that Maroon a bit hesitant potentially to go in aggressive on this shield buff fight. And Michigan know that. Some damage will find Control, and Wavy still standing up. Osiris will be in mid for this fight, and Wavy gonna back away, but the pluck comes through, catches the beads from Control, which was perfectly timed. Might be the only reason Control is still standing. Problem is, Frog, now those beads are down.
Yeah, and this could have big impacts across the map as well. Does dodge out the pluck, but in mid, a lot of damage onto Freezing Fantasy. And now a little bit of jungle pressure gets added for Brandon here. You can see him going for this invade onto the totem camp because Wavy was busy hanging around on that left-hand side. Wavy actually blinks. They're in a fight around this totem, and Brandon might have to be on the run.
Gotta get out of there if you're Brandon. Does not have the blink, like you said, but has plenty of safety for the moment. I thought maybe there'd be a harder commit from Wavy with what they mentioned, with how aggressive Wavy was playing on that Erlang Shen, but no interest quite yet. Maybe buying time for early. Outside of the map, though, Ferendum getting aggressive on a purple buff invade. And Pies is really low, but look how far back they pulled those buffs. The leash works out perfect. Now the pluck. No mana, but there's no backup coming for Ferendum. Regardless, no commit. They do secure their buffs.
Well, it's a great play on both sides for A&M Maroon. They sort of ask a difficult question, and with Sobek being poked out low on mana, I think Ferendum feels a lot safer in making that play. So just the ability to step up, feel safe, and he gets away with a cheeky one, a little bit of a coin flip, but does manage to steal some experience. But then on the other side, you get that early start to stack the lead for Wukong that you wanted. You take the blue buff away from this Cthulhu and start the invade process. Interestingly, though, haven't put any early pressure onto that Bull Demon King just yet. That's something I definitely like to see them look for, especially with these mannequins junglers. It is pretty easy to be running out the damage early, and you can shred this thing down.
You mentioned the mannequin junglers, and they'll also have to wait as Kano goes aggressive, but actually off the mark with the ultimate. And Maroon now able to just step away casually. I want to look at that Heimdall and look at the items, Frog.
Yeah, that is a tier 2 oboe already off the bat. Before that, though, he's going to be putting out some damage. Control tight forced onto the horse and will make it away safely. But I mean, that's maybe pressure that is a bit unexpected for A&M Maroon to be dealing with because of that Odysseus bow. You get that lightning strike passive already on the tier 2, one of the few tier 2 items in the game with a passive. And so just being able to bring that early pressure, it's gonna, I think, reduce the time that, or rather increase the time that it takes to get online for like pure shred. You won't have the executioner early, you won't have the kins early, but at this point, when you're just looking for dual pressure, maybe even thinking about some of those early to mid game fights, getting that oboe online is going to make you really difficult to box into.
So looks over to Solo for Wavy looking at best and going to go in now, has the backup from SDF, already a dash away, and just going to go big for safety underneath that tower. Best not interested in playing around with Wavy at the moment. I'm honestly surprised there wasn't a further commit a bit quicker onto that Cthulhu.
I think
Frog.
The big force is you get the ultimate out with almost nothing expended from A&M Maroon, and that's what they wanted. They knew that this fight was coming. So just in case Michigan were going to be there, they wanted to take a crucial tool away from them. But that being said, a lot of tools being expended. Brandon with the 5-minute tower dive, showing him that the horse is down. He's safe nowhere on the map.
Get Equinox, get kill. That was the play for Michigan, Frog, to nobody's surprise. And a really good play behind the Osiris, not just getting the kill, but saving the blink in that scenario, too. You can go right back and get aggressive some more.
Yeah, that's a good equation, too. Get Equinox, get kill. I think that might be one
Thank
of these.
you. I'm a bit of a mathematician.
don't do math on cast, but when the math is right, I mean, you gotta favor the Osiris in fights like that. This item has completely upended some of the meta characters, especially in jungle, especially in solo. You're gonna see more and more of it as we think about this set. But already you get that little bit of healing, a little bit of extra damage depending on the scenario, and you start to see that pressure come through. And that's where both these junglers want to be getting active.
Brandon's in real deep, but not afraid whatsoever. An early ultimate, though, from Eric on that Thoth. That's great for Maroon. They could get aggressive, and they burned a lot for really nothing. That's the kind of stuff that in a big-time, big-game feel frog, those little things, they matter a lot, and you can't make those mistakes.
Yeah, you do trade one ult for ult. I thought they might have committed a little bit more when Wavy got that taunt off. You do have the ultimate from Vulcan as well, but low mana, they weren't able to follow up. And that Osiris is deceptively tanky, even without any tank items. Just the built-in mitigations can be hard to lock down early. But now that we've seen the first Bull Demon King go down, we've seen the continued pressure over on this right-hand side. I would expect to see A&M Maroon continuing to ask these difficult questions. And I mean, my question back to Michigan, what is the response going to look like? You have Secure on your side. The Thoth ult, I think, favors the Vulcan ult just a little bit, and you have a jungler that can shred it. And if you're on time for it, you're there a little bit early, you can pick it up before they even get here. I don't know if that they know that this is happening.
And now they get the added benefit of being able to clear out all those blue wards they'll come across. And hey, why not add a Wavy on top after the pluck is already out? But that Earthshaker could help get the escape good. And watch out for SDF is on the way. The blink from Wavy, looking for the Sobek. The blink from SDF. And the slam from the Cudgel is the first kill for A&M Maroon. And they're not done quite yet. Looking for the Cthulhu as well. SDF on the slam down. Double kill for A&M Maroon.
Big ups for the Wukong right there. Good rotation, maybe a little bit of an over committal there for Michigan. I think being on time to the buff, they get the BDK with relatively no fight, but then you find a good Sobek pluck and everybody's sort of caught in the middle. They want to follow up, but they just get outmanned right there. A little bit more damage, a little bit better positioned there for A&M Maroon. But even these early fights are not going to lead you to the huge gold lead, the massive experience lead that you really need to try and win one of these games to event. And I know, you know, it's early to be talking about it, but here's where we get to the Bull Demon King's second bit of lore, right? You get to see Ward for 60 seconds. And now that we're nearing that 10-minute mark where we can start to think about the Gold Fury, the Beacon coming up at 12 minutes, the Pyromancer shortly after, vision pressure and just positioning on the map, making sure that nobody's in range for a steal, that you can be wherever you want on the map safely, is going to become all the more important. So now the BDK isn't just for that experience in gold. The vision pressure is going to be really important here in the next 5 minutes.
And you can go and you can look at all those level differentials. SDF now with about 2.5 levels over the best of all. Erlang got 1 on Osiris. Really the only big advantages, if at all, for Michigan are in mid and ADC. And coming up on 10 minutes to have those kinds of advantages. 1,000 gold doesn't seem like a lot, but it can be very quickly. In a finals, add some gold with a kill potentially. Damage not quite online yet for that Earthshaker, but always good to get a limit test across if you're A&M Maroon.
Yeah, I like the ability of Vulcan to just be able to throw that ultimate out there. Not something,
yeah, just be annoying.
Right, you can do it, I think, similarly on the Thoth. Just be ready to throw that ultimate out there, but the dichotomy of where these mids are going to be using those high damage ultimates a little bit interesting, because it means he doesn't have Secure for this. In fact, I think Eric stole that away just with the first ability there. That pressure still in favor of A&M Maroon here. I don't think they're looking to break out a fight, but I mean, now the beacon spawning in just a minute and a half, and this Bull Demon King will be down for that.
You know, one thing that we heard on the desk, we were told a bit beforehand, and if you followed Collegiate this season, it's been evident. A&M Maroon, and going back to last season too, they're an aggressive team, much more aggressive than Michigan, and it has showed, but credit where it's due to Michigan. I'm surprised they're not a bit further behind, given being outmatched in aggression, dealing with an Erlang and a Wukong who went blink early. All those things you would think would add up to a bigger lead at this point.
Yeah, I think they've been doing a really solid job.
Ooh, 1v1 and duo.
you're right. Well, 1v1 is in duo. Horse comes out. Kano forced to back away. Both these hunters, I think, very willing to show their dominance whenever they get the opportunity. I don't know, man. This might not be over.
Kano's feeling it. Control definitely not afraid. ADC brains, am I right? They're just unfazed. But look who's coming to ruin the respect of the 1v1. It's Brandon, and Control might be aware of that with Ferendum around. So back to the tower they go, and Kano are going to go ahead and back as well. But we might not be out of chaos just yet.
Back to my point before we got rudely interrupted by the 1v1 there. The neutral farm and the small invades, I think, have been really important for Michigan to keep this lead from getting out of control. The Osiris, in particular, has been very focused on the mid camps on either side, right? The small invade we saw around Purple Buff once upon a time. Certainly that's going to benefit them here in the fight around the beacon. We don't get the solo rotation, but so far it's a 3 versus 2 in favor of Michigan.
Either ADC around, both focusing on the duo lane, so it's just a true 3v3 at the beacon. Make it a 3v2 with no more pies around to watch. The solos make their way over, but this beacon is already going. It's confirmed. It's blue. A&M Maroon get the better of it.
Pies getting shredded down quite quickly here, I think, early on, and they might even look for a little bit more with the Wukong here. Remember, this is where their lead is. 2 levels in favor of Super Deathfang over there against the Cthulhu. Something that will scale a little bit more, but I mean, you really want to make use of this lead before this Cthulhu scales to have a couple more defense items online. Look at that build. That is a scaling build. He wants to stack up the Prophetic. He wants to make it to level 20 to get that upgrade of the starter. I don't know about you, Anthony. I really don't want to deal with a Cthulhu that can come back to life. I'm not a huge fan of that in my game.
You.
So if they want to be able to shut this Cthulhu down, I'm not even sure the focus has to be on him. You've already gotten your lead. In fact, Kano focuses on him. He's looking for the 1v1 again, and Brandon is over here once again.
Baby, it was all a bait. There's a Lord of the Afterlife. Control just trying to get away now, but it's a full commit for this kill. With Ferendum showing up, it's time to get away if you're Michigan. See if you can bait them back out. You have Sobek here now, but no interest for an A&M Maroon. Control just continuing to be the luckiest dog. Frog just getting out of everything.
He is indeed surviving well over here on the left side. And that's maybe what the dual lane meta was looking for here on 11.4. You're picking ADCs to make sure that they can have a solid 1v1 lane now that the pressure is over on the right-hand side of the map. And certainly Hachi and Heim both being some of the safer ADCs in the game these days. Control LTL doing a fantastic job of staying alive. And I think that you might start to see the build impacts come through in these next couple of minutes, right? We talked about that Odysseus bow coming through for Kano has benefited him. I think he's gotten the upper end, or at least close to the upper end in a couple of these 1v1s. He clearly wants to be taking the 1v1. But at this point now, it's going to be Devos matches, Executioner matches, but you're going to have a Kin Spike for Control Tait. That's just going to be an attack speed buff for the Heimdallr. And when it comes to shredding down arguably triple frontline here, if Cthulhu starts to join these fights, you're going to have a lot more damage pumping out from Control Tait.
Cut up on 15 minutes now, currently 3-1 in kills and about 3k in gold. So standing good if you're an A&M Maroon fan. Still no Gold Fury that Farag was mentioning earlier, but Pyromancer onto the table and erased for A&M Maroon. No answer from Michigan. And you love that if you're blue. You want to keep piling on that gold because, like Frog said, those power spikes on the way. And zooming in on Control, who you're mentioning, as a player that I've been casting, and I know you have too, in the amateur scene forever, and you want to talk about aggression. Control's one of the players I think of when I think of amateur and aggressive play styles.
Yep.
I've seen a Camazotz ADC ganking blue buffs at 10 minutes out of the ADC lane. It's ridiculous.
Well, I think you got to give him some benefit of the doubt here. I'm not sure he was expecting to go against the first item Odysseus. At this point, though, you just want to contest the Gold Fury. He's coming around the back.
And there's a Charon coming in the front. There's a chance that Michigan do secure that Gold Fury. Thanks to the final judgment there. But the mounted archery does do enough damage to Pies to create some kind of opening if Maroon can get there quick enough. And you can see they're charging out. But Michigan just wants to get away. The taunt is good from Wavy. The Earthshaker gonna land and hit Pies. But Brandon was able to dodge it. That might just be enough. And it is. Michigan able to escape -1 so far. Kano not fully out of danger.
He is isolated under the tier 1 tower. The health bars, though, Freezing Fantasy in particular, a little bit low. And no escape available for the Hachimen either. They do decide to back off, and maybe a little bit late there for A&M Maroon in responding to that Gold Fury pickup. Michigan, once again, on the macro play. They've been keeping it close with a lot of the neutral farm, picking their spots where they can choose to not have a full-on fight necessarily, but just where they find these small advantages. And to get a neutral objective like that, essentially for free, that's really big, I think, for slowing down this mid game even further, because we're at a point, yeah, the beacon's about to spawn, but you can't start to look at the fire giant yet, and we're still a couple of minutes away from these other neutral objectives spawning. So Michigan splitting the neutral objectives, taking the gold fury there, they get pretty much guaranteed 2 or 3 minutes, an additional 2 or 3 minutes on top of the game state to slow the game down, get these players to those late game build states.
It's been really great for Michigan to keep up, too. Expensive builds at that. The Staff of Mirrodin and the Abyssal Stone now coming online. Maybe that Abyssal Stone will be big for the fight with Cthulhu looking for Ferendum. Maroon just backing up. There is it going in from SDF, looking for anything but finds nothing, and Ferendum's been taking the bulk of the damage in the meantime. Michigan have their best fight to date. Can they make it work out? Everyone's spread around. SDF back in, off of the Somersault Cloud, looking for any kind of damage, and it finds Kano, who's the first to go down to control. Could be another one soon. The blue side not looking great. They're backing up. Michigan to the tower. Brandon gonna find one. It trades out as best goes down to Freezing Fantasy. Wavy with the dash. It's good to get away from Brandon. The knockup was huge. The damage even better. Double kill for the Vulcan. It's a 3-for-1. Maroon got that out of a hat.
Michigan was so close to securing that beacon, just 1 or 2 ticks away. And the blink in from Super Deathfang to just take all of the aggression. That's exactly where you want to use your solo lane lead, because he knocks up 3 different people, he forces the Cthulhu ultimate, and he just makes an infinite amount of space for his team to walk up and start asking some difficult questions. And man, those were questions that Michigan really weren't ready to answer at all. Like the Cthulhu, best of all, I think he did what he could. He was in there early and often. He got the Cthulhu ult off early in the fight, made sure to get that routine damage out. But key to that fight, I think, separation between best of all and Brandon. Right, Brandon, I mean, think about how late into the fight Brandon ulted. The Cthulhu ultimate had started and ended before Osiris even got into the fight. And sure, he got a kill. It was nice to take away the 1v1, but you have to be more succinct if you're going to put 5 early. They had the positioning, they had the initial pressure. I just think they missed execute on that fight.
And look what it's done to what was such a close game. I mean, we were talking a couple of kills, just a couple thousand gold, and it's growing. It hasn't skyrocketed yet. It's still within reach, Frog, but when you were keeping it close, when they were doing everything you were saying, they were focusing on that micro play, getting those neutrals, focusing on the macro, keeping great awareness of the map, not being weighed down by the Bull Demon King. When those advantages go away and you start to give in to Maroon, what makes them so good with aggression, it can only go bad.
Yeah, and this is where I think what Valve mentioned on the desk, the composition for team fighting really comes into play, because A&M Maroon, not only have they gotten the early game lead, their composition has benefited them in that sense, but now we talk about the 5-on-5 fights, which are already starting to be seen. The solo laners have spent the last 2 or 3 minutes out of solo lane and closer to these fights as we find some positioning around the Gold Fury. This is once again where A&M Comms is going to thrive.
Wavy with a full commit on the blink, the best forced into an early Cthulhu ultimate, and Michigan won't react around it. So that's a big time ult down for any potential looming fight, and Maroon will definitely take that with a smile.
Hey, you do force the ultimate out of Cthulhu, and look at this Super Deathfang. He has an upgraded starter and is 4 levels ahead in the enemy jungle. Eric has to run for his life.
How could you not run from a Sung Wukong with that much gold and that much damage? Down goes Eric Maroon making short work of the mid laner, and the solo laner goes down to control. There's a tier 2 tower in Michigan's pocket, but can they get that Phoenix? They got to get something. It feels like Maroon is just taking them to town on these fights.
Wavy with the back will prevent the split push coming through, so Kano's not going to be able to get anything for his efforts there. But they don't need the shred from Wavy. They've got plenty of damage, and I don't think anybody from Michigan is in a position to step up to this Fire Giant. An early Fire Giant guaranteed off the back of that fight, and frankly, off the back of Super Death Fang. They were right. They were correct to put the pressure over in the solo lane. They wanted the early Bull Demon Kings, the early invades. They might even get more. It's a 2v3. They're chasing them into the enemy jungle. But this Sun Wukong, nobody on Michigan is able to deal with him quite yet. They're not at that stage in the build. The Heim still does not have kins. Kano does not have the damage to answer into a level 20 solo laner at the moment. And as a result, A&M Maroon they feel unstoppable. They can do whatever they want at the moment.
The Giga Chat energy frog of saying, get off my Primal Fury, that's mine too. After you got the Fire Giant and you just got the 2 tanky warriors at it is scary. Michigan want to respond. They can't get there in time. That's a Primal Fury for Maroon. Michigan's posturing really aggressive. They are interested in trying to find something to work, Frog, but there's just been nothing there.
Yeah, once again, I like this attitude from Michigan that they're not taking it lying down. They're still continuing to try to find ways into this. And it looks like they do find something off the back of the positioning. They grab that tier 1 tower in mid, a little bit of extra space there gained for Michigan. But I mean, this composition is a tough one to fight into. Not only do you have this deficit, 8,000 gold, a couple of levels here and there, now people reaching level 20. I will add that A&M Maroon, like Super Death Fang, he reached level 20 at 20 minutes. We'll have to keep an eye on the clock to see when best of all it goes to level 20. Currently level 17 at the moment. So he's trying to get there. But you add to the deficit the fact that this Cthulhu, who's been shut down very early, is going to continue to have trouble in these fights. You have two players that are ready to shred this Cthulhu down. 2 users of that kin size item ready to shred this Cthulhu down early. And that's in addition to how many times early in fights have we seen A&M Maroon position just to force the Cthulhu ult. Best of all has been a huge focus of how A&M Maroon want to start these fights. And if they continue to put the pressure on this Cthulhu, Michigan are going to continue fighting at a disadvantage.
Yeah, it's a need for Michigan. I mean, count your blessings. There's not a Sunder on the side of Maroon, because as big of an ultimate as the best has is as big of a target as they are. And A&M Maroon are just swinging. I'm not going to be out, though, on Michigan at any point, though, Frog. These are such good players. These are 2 championship teams here in Collegiate. So there's always that chance. There's a lot of gaming left to go. Maroon getting aggressive in this left side of the map. And Michigan now are starting to get starved of their farm too, Frog. That they can't let happen.
This grouping around the tier 2 tower, the only tower on this left side of the map, of course, remaining. They did just get that tier 1. But I think this has to be clean for Michigan. They don't want to give too much up on this tier 2 defense. This Fire Giant doesn't last that much longer, maybe a wave or 2 that they have to try and push this in, but they don't want to give too much on this tier 2 defense. And Eric, he's already in.
SDF went in with the blink. There's a big old wave with the summon sticks. Michigan just trying to respond enough to back up safely, as they've already lost that tier 2 tower. And A&M Maroon just look clinical right now with every strike that they make. And Michigan went from feeling like they had some answers to none at all. I mean, they just peek around corners of the jungle. I mean, they're jiggle peeking, Frog, just anything to see what they can do. But there's been no options, no answer against the Maroon Tide.
Well, I think you're getting to the point, though, where you are going to be able to answer back into this. You're reaching the upgraded starters portion of the game, I think. And it's happening before you hit the 30-minute mark. So this next Fire Giant, you're not going to have to worry about an enhanced Fire Giant. And for that reason, I'm not convinced that Michigan want to step up to it. I think that you're maybe better off farming your Cthulhu 1 level away from 20. You can get that upgraded starter online. And then your Cthulhu having 2 lives on a Phoenix Siege versus One Life, that's potentially a major difference maker when it comes to the attempted defenses that are going to come through here. I think you can put up a soft defense. Michigan can definitely show face. They do still have pick potential. You got to remember this Sobek pluck, the Thoth ultimate as well, a constant threat on the map. They are far from out of this game, but I think the worst thing that they could do here is take a fight that they maybe aren't expecting the prowess from A&M Maroon. If they try, it feels like they have positioning right now, but if they step up and they are caught out and they think they get a good engage, and then all of a sudden A&M Maroon is there waiting around the corner, they're not going to find a fight that favors them from 10K down.
Minions very deep on that duo side as well, already close to that Michigan Phoenix. That is something to keep aware of with where the Erling Shen can go. We've seen the Michigan, they don't have vision because they haven't been able to leave, so they don't know what Maroon's doing. It's a really tough spot to be in. Now Erling pushing up those minions too. Like Frog said, maybe it's just a play of waiting for a soft defense, but Fire Giant being pulled before it can be. EFG Maroon are making everything count. A teleport's going to come out. It might be close if the best can get there, but the Earthshaker for the secure. And SDF is diving on Eric and already has them down to half health. That Thoth is going to die.
Man.
Without the Thoth, the defense could just fall apart. Wavy takes a 1v1. SDF still fighting the 1v2. It isn't even that afraid and gets back to the safety of A&M Maroon. They're stepping up and they're looking big time to potentially finish this game.
And Wavy forces Brandon out. They're trying to find an escape on the right-hand side of the map, but they've got Oni Waves pushing a Runic Bomb in pocket. They won't even push down the Titan. They don't want to take that risk, but they're in a great spot to take down the rest of these birds.
This game one has gone from clinical to cerebral for A&M Maroon. Michigan just feel like they can't do anything. Backed up to their Titan now. They've got one tier 2 in that solo lane, but that should go down quickly should things go the way they have been going. Catch-up mechanic, it's gone. A&M Maroon at 28 minutes to have 9 kills, but they got a lot more gold, sitting at 13,500.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what I was saying around that Fire Giant. You end up with your worst possible scenario, essentially. Maybe it could have been worse. Maybe they could have lost all 3 birds, but it doesn't get much worse than Super Deathfang 1v3ing and killing your mid laner because he's up. I can respect, once again, trying for a soft defense, trying to make your positioning known, make them at least play, think about the steal potential. You have the Thoth ultimate that could come through. But when you are standing up that close to the Fire Giant as Thoth, you are asking Super Deathfang to use the lead. You're asking him to dive under your tier 2 and completely dedicate everything he has in the tank to kill that Thoth. He used both of his own relics just to chase down Thoth. And honestly, I think that's the right play, right? Because you stepped up early, and then you also have Best of All, who's across the fight. You're split just to start things, and that means instead of a standard siege that they would have liked to be able to take and defend a 5v5 Phoenix, they also have to defend this one with fire minions pouring in the left side.
This is why I'm bullish on Collegiate Smite. A&M Maroon and Michigan, they talk their smack, and A&M Maroon is backing it up here in game number 1. And now they're at the Phoenix in solo, looking to clean them all up. But Ferendum's almost dead, but the Earthshaker makes almost all of them dead. Big double kill for Freezing Fantasy. Control will go down. Michigan want to go out fighting, but the fight just isn't good enough so far. A&M Maroon have matched it. That Cthulhu can't handle SDF. On the landing, he's gonna be dead. That's 3 gone for Michigan, and no more Phoenixes.
3 for 2 there in favor of A&M Maroon, and they're able to grab the Phoenix to boot. That Earthshaker goes crazy, man. It hits like 3 people, takes down 2 instantly, and Kano dying with both relics up there. You have Aegis in the pocket and not able to see the Earthshaker coming. A little bit too much chaos on the ground. At the end of the day, though, that might have been one of the better showings we've seen thus far from Michigan, and that's why I would have liked them to play around these Phoenix Sieges. Of course, now at this point of the game, maybe they have to step up to the next enhanced Fire Giant. You can't exactly give EFG away for free if you want to come back into this game. There's some positive things to pull away from. One, Ferendum on the pluck, you shredded down that Terran. At this point, you have the damage from the Heimdallr. Kano is swinging, and you're going to be able to shred down some of these tanks. So that's a new target selection process that Michigan can be going through. You're valuing the plucks a little bit higher. Second, though, Michigan just got to execute a little bit better. You cannot be dying with both relics up on the side of Kano. Now, granted, he went from 100 to 0. That's not something anybody likes to experience. But I mean, think about if he does use that Aegis right there. I'm not even sure that they get the bird, right? You can continue to push them out a little bit more. At this point, they have to be trying to take away the positives from that Phoenix Siege and make sure that they don't give away these fire minions pushing in. Because now, at this point, Fire Giant has fallen off. It's just the fire waves that you're dealing with and the pressure from the A&M Maroon's lead.
If you're an A&M Maroon fan, it's all positives right now. That mid Phoenix is back up, but it'll go down from a breath of control. The left side Phoenix, SDF, gonna use the blink to get to it, to try to bring it down. And it's gonna be a siege time coming out from Maroon. SDF and Wavy to the left, the other three towards mid. Let's dive the Titan room? Why not? I got a somersault cloud that I'm plenty cozy on. But A&M Maroon actually gonna back up. Michigan didn't take as much damage as maybe they were expecting her. Perhaps, Frog, to your points, just playing it safe.
Well, at this point, they've used a couple of relics. You get the blink off of Super Deathbang. You take the ultimate away from both of the diving members of A&M Maroon. And this is now in EFG on the map and available. You have to be aware of these fire minions pushing down. Not going to be easy, but you can't get caught out like this.
You went too deep, and Kano is the first to pay the price. Michigan may have overstepped, looking for their Hail Mary. Ferendum gets caught, but it's just a chance to stall for Freezing Fantasy to find a double kill. And A&M Maroon are going to group up in that solo lane, and they're ready to run it down. Michigan have 3 up for this defense, and that, though, is putting out some damage, but this is a nearly impossible task. Keep your eyes on SDF. Keep your eyes on Wavy. They've been the dive. SDF goes in. Titan getting hit already. It's almost dead already. No chance. Game 1 is going to go to A&M Maroon.
Insane cohesive team play from A&M Maroon. I mean, they looked locked in and execution heavy on pretty much every single one of their engagements, even down to that last EFG push. They recognize that despite the past 2 Fire Giants, unlike the past 2 Fire Giants, they don't want to bait them in. They don't want to pick up the enhanced Fire Giant. They're just going to try and catch them out in the jungle. And that's maybe the weakness of Michigan. I think, sure, you end up behind quite a bit. You end up not having all of your members in a position where you want to. We didn't get a ton of even 5v5s that I would describe as even from a game state perspective. But every 5-on-5 that we did see felt like Michigan just separated. Felt like they weren't operating as a cohesive unit. The solo and jungle weren't diving together. The mid and ADC weren't peeling for each other. There wasn't a ton of positives from how Michigan's composition was designed. I mean, it's a team fight composition, but they were using everything defensively. Everything was getting forced out. Partially that's due to the lead, but the cohesion in game 1, it just was not there.
It was not at all. It felt like a group of all-stars who can do it, but nobody's getting past the ball for their chance to take the exciting shot, to make the highlight play. There was just none of that for Michigan. Meanwhile, A&M Maroon, everybody felt like they were playing to make their legacy game come true, and there was just nothing that Michigan could do to stop it. But my goodness, that's only game number 1. A&M Maroon take it, and they do so impressively. Let's send it back to the desk to hear their thoughts before we get into game number 2.
All right. Thank you, fellas. We're back here at the desk. It's your boy ChizU. It's Valve. Look, game 1, Maroon. I'm not saying we called it, but it seems like everything we talked about almost seemingly came true. I will say,
I listen, you got Erlong Shen, you got Wukong into a Cthulhu. You just walk out the blue buff. I mean, It's just so much of it was just writing on the wall, and why would you not follow it? And the better team fight comp seemed to win.
Yeah,
When I was talking to Kano, he told me that they were going to play for team fights because that's what they were looking to do. They felt like they were better at team fighting than any of the other teams, and they built a team fighting comp. Like, they were looking to play for that, but the team fight comp from Maroon was just better.
Look, I think there's one thing in our massive big brain predictions that we got wrong, and it's that there was a little bit of hesitation on the Vulcan. We were like, why did they first pick that Vulcan? Why was that? I don't know. That just proved they slammed through the first pick of Vulcan. That was, I mean, Vulcan made an absolute all-star performance. It seems like every Earthshaker caught one,
It's-
two, three people. It was insane.
even the ones that were thrown out more as like a zoning tool or a tool to just get somebody away,
Yeah,
they were chunking people, man. Fantasy was putting on a show with those Vulcanauts.
absolutely.
They were absolutely destroying. That Vulcan deserved that first pick slot.
Absolutely. I mean, definitely MVP of the game. Not at all overshadowing the performance from Super Death Fang on the Wukong. Went
Oh.
absolutely ballistic there on that pick. Yeah.
It's the thing was with Death Fang is that you would have. I felt bad for the casters because you would have to try to cast around that, where Death Fang was just running a clinic.
Oh, yeah.
He was just literally taking the cudgel and bashing it over the carry's head. That's all they were doing.
It was the classic Super Death Fang hyper aggression, seemingly gets out of it alive. That's everything you could want more in watching Super Death Fang play in the solo lane. All right. On that note, before we begin game 2, we must go to an ad break. So, signing off for now. We will be right back from this ad break.
Hey everybody, Majin here. I am with Super Death Thing from Texas A&M, or I should probably say A&M Maroon, as Friendem prefers it. At least I don't know about you. What you know? Where do you stand on that? Texas A&M, A&M Maroon. You know, what do you think?
Well, I mean, our team is A&M Maroon, but we do represent all of Texas A&M. You know, being here, we do have the separate teams, but you know, this team specifically is A&M Maroon.
Yeah, and to think about, you know, two really good historic like Division One football programs having really good Smite programs today. You know, of course, yourself in Michigan as well. Obviously, just winning a national championship in college football. Had to mention it because we talked about it a little bit in DMs earlier. Just, you know, talking about Joe Fisher and Johnny Manziel, kind of things like that. Just wanted to throw that out there. But it's awesome to think about. You know, this is an opportunity for just Smite. This is basically like if either team went to the Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, and said, you know, now we're able to bring like Kyle Field or Michigan Stadium into like Smite Game Channel, which is awesome. So just wanted to say that and get that out of the way. But first of all, I just want to ask you about right away, Michigan. You played in week 1. It was actually one of the only broadcasts we were able to do this season, and if you look at the numbers, it doesn't necessarily look close in some portions. But if you watch the games, you can see the strategy. So, what is something that you guys do well that you also think is a weakness for Michigan?
So I think that one of the things at A&M we've done really well recently is like, you know, playing through solo. We're really good about that. We know that solo isn't necessarily one of Michigan's strong suits. So whenever we play through there, we're able to get a lot of pressure, and that was kind of how we were able to, you know, build our lead to win in week 1. But that being said, it was still a pretty close game. I wouldn't necessarily say it was a comfortable win, but you know, we got the job done and we're ready to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys, I think game 1, I don't remember the score for the slash lines for game 1, but I remember game 2 was 21-16. And if anybody who watched that, that was a really, really close game, that one. But you know, kind of want to divvy to this point to now I for the casters compiled all the data on you guys in Michigan about what picks you've played this season, you know, assumptive ban, stuff like that. And I don't know, like, do you play anything outside of Kuzenbo and Bell? Like, is that even possible?
Yeah, I mean, I will say, Kuzenbo, Bellota, Vamata, those are definitely my top 3 characters. You know, I try to play them any chance I can, but I did bust out some spicier picks during the season. You know, I played a game of like Xing Chen. I played some of the more standard warriors like Wukong, um, and some Cthulhu during Guardian meta, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see because of how the meta has shifted, and with Conduit Gym out, it just inherently means that Guardians are going to be less played. So I'm excited to get some auto attack warriors in hopefully this set.
Yeah, and that was going to be part of my next question because obviously we just had a patch on Tuesday. Both teams, I don't know if you were able to like practice PTS or anything like that, but this Equinox taking over everywhere right now in the jungle, in solo as well. It seems to be. So do you fully expect there to be just strictly AA warriors, or do you think it'll be more broad?
Um, it could maybe be more broad. But one of the things that I kind of like to do, I don't know if you saw game 2 against St. Ambrose in the semifinals, but I turned Kakulin, who most people wouldn't really think of as an auto attack warrior, and I kind of turned him into one. With Frostbound, Shoguns, Berserkers, Equinox, Acts of Animosity. But I do think that whatever warriors are going to be played, they'll probably be like an Acts of Animosity abuser.
I gotcha, and that honestly sounds like in season 5 when Captain Twig was like playing Mercury, but doing like Frostbound and tanky items, and then
Oh yeah.
like that's what I was thinking of when you said that. But also, when I ask you the question about the A warriors, it makes me think about Kuzenbo still being valuable potentially because of how his kit works. Do you think he's still relevant? Both teams seem to play him a lot.
Yeah, so I know their solo laner, Best of All 16. He's also a big Kuzenbo enthusiast. I could definitely see some Kuzenbo getting played. He does feel good, especially into certain auto attack warriors like Erlong. If an Erlong's played, it feels good because of all the procs that happen with his thorns. But I do think Kuzenbo is still viable, just not. I don't think he's going to be the end all be all character that you'll see pick banned every game like he was during Guardian meta.
Okay, I can see that. So the next portion I want to talk about is actually one roll over is jungle. Now, these two junglers have very unique and different god pools.
I would agree.
The only pick that they both have played, and it's just one time each this season, is Camazotz. And everything else, like, well, Brandon's playing Mulan, he's playing Nike, he's doing like all kind of things, and then you just wavies on like any pick that's an assassin that you can name. Do you think there's in this meta that we just shifted to because of the auto attack item now, the Equinox replacing Golden Blade? Do you think that might favor either team because it is so new and because not really, to be honest, I mean, neither of them really have played those types of picks.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I think it'll definitely change things up. I think it will slightly benefit A&M Maroon just because of it benefits my god pool a bit more, but also Wavy has been playing a lot of Erlong. He played Erlong in the semifinals, went kind of crazy on it in game 1. And but I just really haven't seen that from Brandon. He's been going if it's a warrior, it's a more standard warrior, like an ability base, not necessarily an auto attack. So I would say overall it does benefit A&M Maroon a little bit more.
I gotcha. We'll shift to one more lane or one more position over. We'll talk about the mid lane now. The only two picks that are, but again, this is so like these guys are just different in their styles of picks and whatnot. Fantasy, I've seen him play everything in the game, so I know he can play everything in the game. Same thing for Eric as well. But the only two picks they both played this season, and I think it was like 2 times each, are Vulcan and Thoth. Do you think those will be contested picks now with the meta shifting a little bit, or do you think those are kind of falling away?
So I know for sure that that Vulcan's going to be pretty highly contested. It's a Vulcan just inherently is very He's very jumpy. He's slippery. He's able to kind of get around, which is exactly the type of god you want in mid lane in the auto attack warriors. So I think that we still probably will be seeing a lot of Vulcan. But with Thoth, I'm not as sure because he doesn't really like seeing all these warriors that are up in his face, after he dashes. So I'm not exactly too sure on Thoth, but I do know it is one of Eric's best picks. So I wouldn't be shocked if I saw a lot of it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. Just knowing the players, we've been doing this for you guys, the last 3.5 years, I think it has been.
Yeah.
So being able to watch a lot of these players, you usually like if you watch that much, their god pool. It's like if you turn into SPL and you're like, oh, there's Venenu. I know what he plays. I know what he can pick away from the other team. Oh, there's Beniq. He does these picks. I know what else plays. Same, just things like that. So, but I'll shift over one more time. We'll go to the duo lane this time. So obviously you've got Control Alt Eat. I don't know why people like to say his name incorrectly a lot, but it's kind of funny. I've heard a lot of iterations. I'll just leave it at that. But unfortunately, I don't know how you do it, but you got to deal with Ferendum every day of your life, and I just got to ask, like, how do you do it?
Oh, true. I mean, sometimes you just kind of gotta ignore the yapping a bit, not let it get to you. But that being said, he is a good teammate. Just gotta mess with him some, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to thank you for your time. I'm looking forward to seeing this, especially being live on Smite Game. This is just something that's going to be absolutely awesome for us. Shout out to Hyros for this to happen, and good luck to you today.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. It's a great opportunity to have this casted live on Smite Game, and thank you for the interview, Majin.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with game 2 of AGL Collegiate Division 1. We got number 1 A&M Maroon, number 3 Michigan, currently 1-0 A&M Maroon. And I want to go ahead and just immediately talk about Valve. What does Michigan do differently?
Don't let Deathfang do whatever he wants. I mean, it's just that Wukong enables him to do so much. He did so much that entire game. It was just like, there's put on a show. That's what he did. He was just monkeying around, It's just kind of what he do.
Pick and ban philosophy. What do you expect to see now, especially now that Michigan has first pick?
Is the Vamana really that much of a threat? If you don't want to pick the Wukong yourself, are you that concerned about the Vamana that you want to get rid of the Wukong instead? I just expect some sort of different philosophy and not letting Deathfang get something he wants.
Yeah.
Because clearly he can run the show. Both teams did say that they thought he could run the show, and it's clear he can.
I mean, I'm personally myself looking at the on her ban in phase 1. Do you really how much do you really want to see Wukong again or Erlang again versus on her? I don't know. I feel like that's something that could be very interesting, very interesting to look at. But at this point, we can only have for so long. We got to get into the picks and bans. It's game 2 time.
Yeah, that on her's got a lot of safety, and I think that's why they took it away, because it looked like they put a lot of priority into Control Alt I and trying to shut him down, because you can't really gank a Wukong.
Yeah. 100%.
So they were trying to shut him down, and that on her puts a level of safety with that pillar, with his leap, with his CC immune ultimate, with a short cooldown. Maybe that's what they were trying to avoid. But the Dodgy was banned away again.
Ban. Dodgy is a same ban as last time. It was the same ban as phase 1. Terra, also same ban as phase 1.
Hachi
now we see a Hachi ban. Was Hachi the problem? Interesting. We see it on her ban on the side of A&M Maroon.
All up.
And Vulcan. Vulcan does go down. We talked about how that was freezing. Use that Vulcan pick and almost was the MVP of that game, hitting every single ult. Let's see what we see for the third Maroon pick. But so far, it looks like Michigan is kind of there's no super Death Fang bans. Presumably they grabbed something in the first pick, but there's so many things here. Yeah, so Uller gets banned, Vamana gets first picked, and that makes sense. But you got to remember, Death Fang will play Bologna, will play Kuzumbo, will play Wukong.
So what the philosophy here from Michigan was, we ban away the picks they've shown to play, their comfort picks, whatever, and we pick what we feel like we get the most out of. Maroon caught on to that, banning the Onher and the Uller away so they could pick up one of those big picks as well.
Yep.
Vamana seems to be what Michigan wanted the most, and Maroon's going to respond with Bologna and probably look at that Erlang again. I mean, I would run it back.
Yeah, I would too. And if you look here, we see Vamana's picked, yeah, but then Bologna. Bologna is one of Super Death Fang's top picks. This is that's a crazy ban for me to get through, especially since you could also flex that into the ADC role. I know that is a thing that has been talked about, is running Bologna in the carry role. We see Erling Sheng
A little
hovered.
spice.
I would take it. I mean, that was just like it was incredible last game. It's been this whole tournament season, semifinals and finals. Erling's been causing so many problems. Equinox is just way too good right now. Heron gets selected. Boatman gets selected. Farron was good on that. There was so much disrupt to that wave. And we see Odin.
I
Agni.
really like this.
Okay,
The
Odin was
cage
banned
is
last
strong.
time. Odin was banned last time for a very specific reason. Odin was not banned this time in place, I believe, in place of the Uller. And yeah, Odin gets picked. Very strong pick. A very strong pick in the meta right now. And Agni gets picked up. Holly.
Wavy.
Wavy picks Kali. Interesting. That's a very interesting play. I believe that is an anti-Odin play. And
Let me cook here. Let me cook here, right?
all right,
So with Equinox,
let's hear it out.
with Equinox coming in, Kali has an early game spike that she
Yep.
didn't have before.
Yep.
And you're able to build that into like the T2 oboe and then get into hastened, and you just have a ton of damage.
Yeah.
Kali has so much late game potential as she did before, and she has just so much ability to absolutely shred through these tanks. And I think it's super good. I think it's really good here. And maybe I would have picked it a little bit later, but maybe Michigan knows something I don't, and that the Wavy does like this Kali a little bit more. I don't remember seeing Wavy being a big Kali picker, but right now, Kali's feels really good.
Yeah, Kali's really good right now. And then as we see phase 2 bans, Heimdall. Heimdall will not be played there. We have Toth. We have Kepri. Kev, what do we think on the Kepri pick there?
I'm fine with it. I mean, Kepri with a Vamana and an Odin, that's just a free out for both of them if they overextend. I'm perfectly fine with it. Now, here's a question for you. Do you think the Vamana's going solo or jungle? And do you think the Odin's going solo or support? Oh, no.
Oh, Chardabit. Oh, great pick, by the way. I don't know. I think Vamana solo, Odin support makes the most sense, but Odin jungle is very playable. But then we see Kumakarna is being hovered right now. That may mean Odin jungle.
Hold on.
This is all kinds of messed up right now.
This Charybdis is only being picked so that Vamana has a harder time killing her, I assume.
Oh, for sure. 1,000%.
You're extending the duration of his ult while you're immune.
But
and then if you go into ult, he just beats you down anyway.
But you say this, and I know that this is probably not the most crazy pick in the world, but I know that I had this same philosophy in the semifinals when Cryptos was picked up by Antonio, by Control Alt I Eat, and then he did fantastic on the pick. So maybe that's just a comfort pick whenever you have no Hachi and no on her. Maybe that there's anything deeper to this.
I don't think the character's good. I'm gonna be honest. I just think there are better picks.
No,
There's
not
more
good.
safe. Like even if you want, let's just say you want something safe, right? Charybdis has that safety, and I'm assuming that's what they want. But it's just like, we're just going with mediocre ADCs, I guess. The Apollo. Now I'm just being responded back with another mediocre ADC.
We can write off duo lane. Duo lane does not matter anymore. Charybdis, Apollo, Kumakara is still being hovered.
I would have liked
Fafnir
the
gets
combo.
selected.
I'm gonna be honest. Into the Kali, the combo would have been nice.
The combo would have been really funny. Fafnir gets selected. Look,
Well-
I think are these comfort picks? I feel like
Well,
these are
the
comfort picks.
the Kumbhakarna does a lot into the Kali because if Kali's ever going in like the full commit with the ultimate, you just throw her up into the sky.
Mhm.
Or you mez her, and in a comp situation, your team knows not to hit her.
100%. Well, and we see here that the Apollo Fafnir selected for the duo lane to be Chartibus, Charon in the opposing duo lane. And it looks like we have one last pick here. Your question that you posed to me earlier is the Vamana going solo and Odin jungle or vice versa. I'm not entirely sure at this point. Cuckoo being hovered right now. I still don't have a really decent answer to that right now. I think the best case scenario is Vamana solo. Odin is going to be in the jungle and Fafnir support, I guess Vamana jungle works way better. I don't know. There's some secret tech here.
Listen,
Cuckoo.
best of all, I know absolutely, like, I've never seen this player until now. I saw him on like a little bit of info when I was doing a little research beforehand. What if he just pulls out the Fafnir solo? You know, maybe he's cooking. But on a serious note, it's probably the Vamana in the solo lane and the Odin in the jungle, or vice versa. Both of them can get some stuff done and look to apply some pressure towards this Kali. The Charybdis gets away from both somewhat, but I just feel like I don't know. I need to see the Charybdis put out results before I start singing its praises.
I can tell you that the best of all 16, he has not played the Fafnir solo in regular season.
I'm
But
gonna be honest, I don't think anybody has.
neither Vamana. Odin was played 3 times in the regular season by best of all. So Odin is a very high chance of going solo. 3 times best of all picked Odin in the solo lane this regular season. Look, I think there's a lot of very interesting ways this can go. Okay, top level. Let's step back one last time here. Did Michigan do a better job on the draft here? I think so.
Yes, but you picked Apollo.
Look, man, against Charybdis,
and
like it's a wash.
I feel like Charybdis is better. And I'm saying that about a character that I think is bad. It's just, I think Charybdis, I don't think Antonio, I think Antonio could make it work. Antonio, control alt IE, the ADC for Maroon.
So much interesting things here.
I think he can make it work. He's skilled enough to make it work. I just think the character itself is not good.
Well, I think I'm excited to see how this game 2 goes. Game 2 coming up live. Here we go. Casters, Anthony, Frog, please take it over.
I think Anthony's muted, and that means I get to take over as the introductory right here. Anthony, are you how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm back. I even
Feeling
did an
awesome?
intro with my microphone muted. That's like the first time it's happened to me, Frog.
I
was too excited.
Oh, dude, you're picking up habits from me because I have had my mic muted far too many times in the history. But I mean, go ahead. No, now you have the open floor, the intro for the squad. You might not even get the chance to. Fafnir's pretty low here.
Yeah, it could potentially be a death, but Pie's looking okay, feeling confident on that Fafnir. I'm a little disappointed we didn't get the Kumbhakarna, Frog, but like you said, Anthony Mel, Frog, Red Rosie Panda on production. We're back. We're in game 2. We're excited. Division 1 finals on tap. Thank you, Desk. All the good stuff. The Bologna, the Kali, Apollo versus Charybdis. I mean, where do we even begin, Frog? It feels like there's limitless opportunities of talking points.
Not in the dual lane. I'm going to subvert your expectations. I don't want to talk about the dual lane at
Not the
all.
mediocre dual lane.
I want to get. We can come back here maybe at like 8 minutes. You know, like we can get back here. Right now, though, I want to talk about this jungle matchup, and maybe Eric wants to talk about dashing in to enemy players while his Vamana runs away. But Either way, this jungle matchup is pretty interesting to me, and I think it talks a lot about how the draft went for this, because you first pick this Vamana on the side of Michigan, and because of that, potentially Super Death Fang picks the Bologna instantly. Something like the Wukong was available, Bologna was available in game number 1. He opts into the Bologna potentially for the matchup, maybe because he thinks Deathbringer, or thinks Vamana rather, is going towards that soul lane. Instead, it ends up being the Odin pick, and now Odin versus Bologna, a matchup that not seen super often. I doubt we'll see a ton of fighting over there between those two soul laners, just some safe clear, and Odin will lose a little bit of that pressure, but it also means that they get the benefit of that Odin cage, which is something that I'm not convinced that Michigan really, like, they use it pretty well. I don't think A&M Maroon drafted around it super well. They don't have a mid laner that can leave that cage. The Charybdis has to channel it differently. There's a lot of interesting opportunities for where this soul lane pressure, and that's where my eyes immediately go, as Super Death Fang was such a big factor in game number 1.
Kali also peeking over, potentially setting up for a blue buff invade, while on this left side, it's a purple buff invade. So nobody's buff is safe. Ferendum looking to contest for it.
Freezing
and Pies is pretty low, and Freezing Fantasy is here, but a really well-timed shell will catch a lot of that whirlwind and give an escape for Michigan. Really well played there on the relic usage there from Pies.
Oh my gosh, and another fight happening over towards the blue buff. Didn't see you came away with that one, but Wavy is overextended just a little bit, punished for going for some of those steals. And that's exactly the type of response I wanted to see from Michigan early. They let the soul lane get a little bit out of control in game number 1. Then in game number 2, to try and get it, they even got the steal, best of all, just with the spear. Takes away that blue buff, and they get first blood.
And for Eric, too, a big weight off the shoulders, getting a kill early, getting to feel it a bit more on that Agni. And man, look at A&M Maroon proxying in front of Michigan, and look how low they are and where they're stepping up. This could turn into a really good play here for Michigan if they do things right. Summon 6 will not hit Kano. Charybdis gonna catch the dragon, and backup is on the way for Michigan. Control will find Pies through it. Kano gonna die to Ferendum, but Control will ultimately have to take a graycation to think about diving that deep. A 2-for-1.
That might be a bit of a disrespectful play, Anthony. I'm not gonna lie to you. That is a proxy, and you take the advantage because you know that Michigan is low, and crazily enough, they come out the winners of that scenario. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of A&M Maroon, and you get that kill on the other side onto, I mean, you get 1 kill on both the support and the ADC there. So I think you get a little bit of that pressure, but maybe now, we're not at 7 minutes yet, so maybe I'm a little bit jumping the gun. But maybe now this is where we get to talk about that dual lane matchup, because Apollo and Charybdis are not characters that I expected to see picked up today, but both a little bit interesting, right? You get the immunity from Charybdis, and especially what might become impactful here, the global pressure from the Apollo. Notable today, Chernobog is banned due to a bug. That's something that we've seen picked up from both of these squads throughout the season. So the only option, if you wanted a global hunter, is this Apollo.
I feel like we tuned into a Zapman stream. That's the only time I've seen Charybdis v Apollo. It's in those ranked grind sessions. We'll see how it works out of the purple buff invade from Michigan. Apollo does get it. Took 3 to get aggressive on A&M Maroon and the Whirlpool to get out. But the big baby is going to hunt you down. But Charybdis ultimate, we all know it's good for one thing. It's backing away from damage like that. And Control is safe. Meanwhile, other side of the map, blue buff invade goes real well for Wavy, dropping the best. This is going to be a bloodthirsty kind of match.
Yeah, it might just be a good response from A&M Maroon to come back to that blue buff, right? As well as Michigan defended early on. They got that first blood on to Wavy. This time, instead of Freezing Fantasy being there for the purple buff, they talk about it. They change up their game plan. They make sure Freezing Fantasy is over there for the blue buff invade. They get the blue buff. They get a shutdown onto the enemy soul laner. And this is already a little bit worrying, Anthony. 2 levels ahead for Super Death Fang after losing his blue early on in the game, after a failed blue buff invade to start the game. 1.5 levels to 2 levels already gained in a lead here for this Bologna, and that's yet another god that you don't want to let get out of control.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. You put SDF on a new god, and SDF just performs even better somehow, working into that Frostbound, so they're going to be ready to fight. Speaking of fighting, shield buff on tap, and Ferendum looking to contest will be unable to get it. It does go to Michigan, and take a peek at that Vamana lurking over, ready to take a fight with Maroon again, but this time being followed by Wavy, so things are ready to break down in this duo lane. But look at the poke, it's already found the way of Michigan. Kano's got to get out of there, but Wavy's here with the blink and the kill. Later, Apollo. Fafnir, same thing, get out of dodge. Only one left standing is Vamana ready to fight. And that big baby mode does not last forever, Brandon. But Agni, Rainfire, that does a lot to help out. Maybe the escape Brandon needed, but what about the Agni? You can't leave a man behind. They don't. Michigan able to get away somehow, and that fight was so crazy they needed a breather.
Yeah, the middle laners have been getting so active already early on in this game, and that's something I'm a bit surprised to see given the last game where I felt arguably the Thoth and the Vulcan were had a little bit more capability, should I say, to get active, a little bit more raw early damage. But this time, Freezing Fantasy's got the movement speed buff, Agni's got the dash. They're really using it, man. They're getting involved in these fights.
Yeah.
And that being said, we haven't seen these fights really favor either lane. I think we've gotten sort of an equal amount of pressure on either side. Maybe timings around those blue buff invades. We've seen the purple buff invade by Michigan now twice in a row. But my biggest takeaway is among all of this, among some fights that I would call scrappy, I would call relatively even thus far, through all of it, A&M Maroon have a bigger lead than they did at this point in game number 1, which is shocking almost. I mean, they have to be, the macro play has to be just like they're quietly doing the things that are just getting them these small leads. Sure, the invades come through, but I think they're probably getting a lot of this neutral farm wave priority on rotating out of mid. It's the little things that A&M Maroon have nabbed them a pretty big lead here.
Well, we saw the proxy come out from Control and Ferendum. No fear there. We saw the Kukulkan be ever aware on the gank over, the rotation over early on. And we saw Wavy and SDF combine for a blue buff invade when they saw things going crazy on the left-hand side of the map. And it goes back to what makes A&M Maroon. It's the hunt for blood. It's the aggression that A&M Maroon can consistently play with. Thank you. Even last season, when I got to cast A&M Maroon and Collegiate, it's something I saw all the time. I mentioned it because it sticks in my brain. I saw Control on a Camazotz in carry, teleport to solo. With teleport on ADC, the teleporters weren't in the game yet. Stick at that blue buff and go for a kill. That play style stays through in Collegiate. It's what makes it special, and A&M Maroon are just making it work.
They're making the blue buff invade work. They're at least trying. And Super Death Fang will get it on his lonesome. Now with the rotation, best of all, he's got to be careful. The rest of the squad is here. And another death onto the Odin.
Dropping a cage just to make your coffin prettier if you're that Odin. A&M Maroon, the police showed up to that blue buff. No chance at getting it back. Bull Demon King will go red, left side of the map. Trouble for Control, but look how safe. 2 people dived on top of Control, couldn't even see the character icon anymore, and Control's not even below half health. That's the Charybdis way for you.
Yeah, this is once again, this is getting dangerous for Michigan, and it's even more dangerous than I think game 1 because you don't have the lead on one player. 3 levels on Super Death Fang. That's certainly worth a lot, right? Not to discount the fact that he once again has maybe a game determining lead depending on how he uses it. We'll have to see where the rotations come through. But also the lead split on other players as well. You've got 1 to 1.5 levels on your mid laner, on your jungler, on your ADC. Supports are even, but that's really the only thing that's even on the side of A&M Maroon. You add that to the 3,000 gold lead, and once again, they feel very powerful walking up and around the map looking for these invades. They've got the Bull Demon King pressure. My question maybe starts to get asked around this Gold Fury, around this beacon, because we're starting to reach that point in the game where if you want to try and push your lead even harder, it's no longer on the buff invades. It's got to be around these neutral objectives.
Hey, Charybdis, Whirlpool gets out of Odin Cage, just in case you didn't know. But look at the rest of the team interested in the gank. The big baby hunting down Charybdis, but the juke shoes are pretty darn good, and they're buying a lot of time. Not enough for control. Brandon gets the kill, but everyone's here for the party. Not one person left out of this bash. Apollo looking to get away. Ferendum will say no siree. Get on back here. That's a kill going for A&M Maroon. It's 1-for-1 so far. Michigan just want to get out of there now. No more interest.
1-for-1 trade, but man advantage here in favor of A&M Maroon. It's around this Gold Fury. And remember, they still have a couple of auto attackers here if they want to try and pick up that neutral objective. Instead, it'll just be a little bit of a back off with Agni clearing out the wave here. Eric wanted to make sure he doesn't miss out on any of the farm. And this rotation, I mean, both teams itching to fight, it feels like a little bit. Did you see how fast that happened? How fast all 5 players were just all of a sudden in the left lane looking to fight. They do only end up getting the 1-for-1 trade. This is an interesting one, though. This would be a pickup, the stone lane man advantage over here. And Maroon would have to look for a steal.
Control is looking at it and not afraid to stand there. Does have Whirlpool online, but there's 5 on that Gold Fury. Rainfire. Whirlwind gets it away. What a steal from Freezing Fantasy. Picking up right where they left off in game number 1. MVP and Ferendum cleans up pies, and the best was lurking, and that was a mistake. Freezing will get them too. A&M Maroon just continue to cook.
You try and grasp back a little bit of the game, a little bit of life. You see an opportunity, you have the soul laner there, the man advantage, and instead everything falls to pieces. You lose the Gold Fury, you lose 2 members of the squad right there, 2 for 0 for A&M Maroon, and perhaps most importantly, Super Deathfang just got to farm by himself on the right side of the map the whole time that was going on. He's got the tier 1 tower. He's got a 3-wave advantage in that one moment.
Insane.
And a 4-level lead now over there.
The fighting just does not stop. Ferendum takes a lot, but so does Brandon on that Vamana. There's been so much going on. We haven't even had time to talk. Speaking of cooking, Vamana's got a Transcendence. We got to get to that after the Stygian Beacon and give it a talking point. But Ferendum still taking poke. A&M Maroon committing to that Stygie B, at least for the moment. Summon Stick's going to come out, and the fight's going to commit. Ferendum still face-tanking everything with no fear. The Dragon does decent damage to Pies and backs up the Fafnir. A&M Maroon managed to get that Stygie B, and Ferendum, without a care in the world, dropped to like 10% and had no worries.
The perfect in and out. Hold that thought, though. Kano in with the ultimate, but the 4-button pressed by Wavy, and Freezing Fantasy has the peel. Kano, he might be the one in trouble at this point.
That's a keyboard smasher if I've ever seen one. That Wavy gets away from Kano. It costs the Apollo their tier 1 tower to control. And Michigan, they want to gank. They want to get something out of this, but Control is full with a Rage online. Oh, there's so much to talk about here, but looks like Michigan want this fight with Charybdis. Friend on the way for backup. Agni, too. Going to be 4-on-2 on the left side. Control might be able to turn this with backup. Here's the backup, but no turn. Just an escape.
Oh man, he could have put on a show there with the right ultimate placement, but he does get out safely, and it's A&M Maroon on the macro plays once again for everything that Michigan tries to do. A&M Maroon is there with an answer. They get the Pyromancer, they got the tier 1 tower on left and on right, and they're getting the fight right now. The cage traps them in, but look at the Cuckoo ultimate.
Oh, so close to catching Pies. Instead, Dragon will come out, but the Whirlwind did catch. That'll be enough to get the Fafnir TKO'd. A&M Maroon spread, but not worried. SDF will just back in the face of Odin, unafraid there as well. Level 16 on that Bologna to the 11 of the best, so there's just not much you can really do.
All right, let's talk about the builds. We've got some downtime. We've got
many things.
Just a little bit. I'm gonna rapid fire through them. Right, Transcendence on Vamana, bit of a mana hungry character. They will scale into the late game just in terms of stacking up your damage, but I gotta tell you, I'm not a fan. I know you're man hungry in the early game, but if you're gonna build Equinox, if you're gonna look to chase people down, I think Berserkers, hybrids, some amount of something would be benefiting you a little bit more. And then I'm going over on the right side of the map. We don't get to talk about a second build. What is Super Death Fang doing to best of all? What am I watching occur? He's just walking him down the lane. The slows are good enough. He's got Hasten Katana in essentially. He doesn't even have Equinox, Anthony. He doesn't have the item. He's just that far ahead.
I said that Kano would be smashing the keyboard. Sounds like Frog is Primal Fury pull from A&M Maroon, and they got a decent chance to secure it, but they do get it. I was a little worried. There was no ultimates dropped, and Fafnir was close by, but A&M Maroon secure it, and Wavy will just take a tiny bit of poke on the way out. So after we watch SDF go crazy, we can go back and you can finish your point looking at the Charybdis building the Rage early on.
Yeah, it's not something that I expected. That being said, though, I think that this item in a very late game build, once you get to the full on upgrades, plus the new Deathbringer, not new at this point, it's been around for a minute, but the Deathbringer glyph that multiplies your crit chance, if you add just Rage to that, you are essentially operating at like 80 to 90% crit chance. So just 2 crit items and the rest shred in your comp. If he wants to fight, that might be the build to do it in, but it's going to take a minute to get it online.
Look at those player damage numbers for SDF on that Bologna. And with team fights looming and A&M Maroon getting aggressive on the right side, posturing up, daring Michigan to look their way, those numbers could skyrocket even more. Coming up in 17 minutes, scores 3-8 for A&M Maroon, and they're sitting at a comfortable just underneath 8,000 gold. Experience, it can speak for itself if you look at the levels, Frog. Michigan have to find some way back in before it's too late. Maybe a blink from the Vamana on the left-hand side, looking for Wavy?
Yeah, he's trying to find the fight, but I'm not sure that's one that he wins. There's your first Rage stack onto the Charybdis as well.
Lockdown.
Already starting to stack that one up. But as weird as it is, right, and not obviously that pick, not great in a vacuum, but that's the way that Michigan try and find their way back into this game. This is not a game that you want to let yourself bleed out in, because the scoreboard, it looks grim. Like, let's be honest, it doesn't look great as far as scoreboards go, but you still, I think, have some macro things to hold on to. You played early on well around some of these objectives. That early Gold Fury should have been yours. A little bit of a misstep, but you've proven your ability to step up into this team as long as you find your spot. So I think as long as they continue to look for these opportunities, it's not a lost game by any means.
SDF burning both relics there from Eric. Understandably so, that Bologna is a frightening sight. A&M Maroon calling for the Stigi B, and Michigan simply don't have an answer at this moment, especially with Eric now below half health. Kano not interested in rotating. Same thing for the best. So Stygian Beacon, tier 1 tower in the mid lane. A&M Maroon just continue to push things up. They walk right over to the Pyro.
Yeah, that rotation from Super Death Fang, not something that you are really prepared to deal with. Any of the members of Michigan. The one saving grace might just be how much farm goes to other lanes at this point, because even the 0-3 Apollo, Kano is over here at level 17, and this time he didn't go into the Odysseus bow first item. He's already got that Executioner online. So while it's not going to be easy by any means to take down SDF here, you at least have a shot to find the damage early on. Kano, he's got to be careful here. He's got to channel the ultimate, I think, if he wants to survive.
Already might be too late if he gets caught in a stun. A blink comes in from Brandon. Look at Control's health bar. Where did it go? Knocked up. Can't even get into the whirlpool in time. Now Kano takes to the skies, and it's worked out real good for Michigan. They have a chance in this fight. Brandon into the big baby early. Taken on 2. Kano diving on the freezing fantasy, but catches some relics. That disrupts the play. Back to the shell for safety. The best comes through the wall. Here comes a big Kakokin ult. Doesn't find as big of a home as it needs, but Ferendum finds a kill anyway. Best in trouble, trying to get away. SDF, the same thing, stunned and low. Freezing Fantasies Whirlwind does the work. Now the shields come out, and down goes the dragon. Down goes the Agni. 4 dead on Michigan. Maroon make it work.
How does Super Death Fang do it, man? that, and he's level 20 before 20. And I mentioned earlier, he does not have that Equinox item. Apparently, he doesn't need it to heal through fights with that Scourge. He just sits there auto-attacking at 200 HP and makes sure to get his team the 4-0 at 20 minutes in. And now, once again, the first member on the map, along with his support, they've got upgraded starters already online. And the early Fire Giant, even earlier than game number 1, A&M Maroon dominating thus far through this early game. They've got the Fire Giant. They've got the chance to sweep these towers off the map.
Maybe give him back a Sun Wukong, you know? Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's better off than the Bologna. You and I were both saying to each other that they even banned the Bologna in game number 1, and on desk they said Bologna is SDF's better pick, and I'm thinking to myself, but the Wukong, it looks so good. Okay, I get it. The desk was cooking for sure. A&M Maroon doing much of the same thing, cleaning up that tier 2 tower in the solo lane and walking at the Phoenix as well. They're ready to press the go button. They commit with the summon sticks as well. Michigan trying to respond, but Wavy's already diving into the back line. Spirit only gonna hit the best. The dunk won't find Wavy. Rainfire into the back. Kana will clean up the Kali, but here is SDF, and no more is that Apollo Maroon get the Phoenix.
The Phoenix Siege is successful, and you get a 1-for-1 to boot the ADC online there. And honestly, I'm pretty satisfied with Wavy and Super Death Fang switching their roles in the team fight right now, because Wavy just don't, right? He just spent the entire fight essentially making space with the unkillable destruction, and he's just wasting time in the back line while the rest of his team is doing the Phoenix. But honestly, the 1-for-1, I would rather keep my Bologna online to do stuff like this and find the engage and the damage as they continue to run it down.
Follow me, boys. We're holding W, says SDF. That's going to be a tier 2 tower. And all Michigan can do is watch. The Fafnir almost paid the ultimate price. Odin's in solo, just trying to get some farm online. All of Michigan needed. They've dropped over that 10K mark for Maroon in this lead. Almost at a 10-kill lead as well, Frog. Grim as Grim gets. We're in the same point we were last game of the fall back and play your tower defense minigame.
Yeah, except this time they don't have the Cthulhu. They don't have the cohesion potential that I think the last they had a Thoth as well in the last one, right? A ton of tools in their tool belt to try and make the base defense more successful. Now they're not helpless, right? They do have some tools. Agni's got quite a bit of range. The Odin cage, I think, just outside of a Phoenix can be really powerful as well. Well, a lot of these tools are otherwise useless in a defense sort of scenario, right? You're not getting a ton of value off of the Apollo ultimate when you're defending a Phoenix. The Fafnir can ult and likely will do so to defend it, but much more useful on a Phoenix Siege to try and find some of that pressure. It's not looking great for Michigan, and honestly, because of the composition shifts, I'm almost more okay than I was last game with them stepping up to the Fire Giant in a game like this. But I'm not super okay with you just continuing to let this pressure go. At this point, it's been a Phoenix, it's been all the tier 2 towers except for this left one. And with the positioning of A&M Maroon, they still have Fire Giant for another minute or so. They can continue to push this down.
Fire Waves will be pushing up on that solo side, tier 2, now getting pressured as well. And the Assassin goes to the mid lane and has some backup as well in the form of SDF. It's looking real troublesome for Michigan. There's got to be something figured out. 5 commit, 5 dive in. Eagles rally for the charge. The Odin cage to slow him down. Will it be enough? Here comes a big old dragon, but SDF is the scariest dragon on the map with a kill. The big baby just to get away. Maroon continue to dominate on this siege.
They're continuing to pressure. Wavy doesn't even have to be in the backline. Saves destruction the whole time. Oh no! Steps up a little bit too far and dies with the Aegis again. And A&M Maroon, they're fighting way more than they should. They might even be able to keep going.
Kano must stand for oh no, and A&M Maroon stands for a W. They dive on to the Titan. Wavy pops ult. They're not afraid of nothing. Brandon will look for any picks possible. Wavy had to fall back, but it won't matter. None. That Titan is going down to the whirlwind. They'll take a kill with it. A&M Maroon find themselves on match point.
Game number 2, a dominant showing from A&M Maroon. And I would have been pretty satisfied saying that after game number 1, too. I think dominant was a pretty good word to use. Now I would feel bad using it for game number 1 because it really personified in that game number 2. Not only was it Super Deathfang, who got, I think he was 6 levels ahead at one point in that game, but it wasn't just that. Wavy got ahead. There was an ADC deficit. Ferenda might not have found an early level lead, but I felt like the man was unkillable playing some of these in and outs on that Charon. So incredible on the space creation early, and just everything coming together exactly how A&M drafted it up. I was questioning the Charybdis. I was with the desk. I was questioning the Apollo more. I don't know that we'll see either of those picks again. But I'm not even sure it's a pick thing. I don't know that it's a comp thing. It's a cohesion, a team thing, a momentum thing. If Michigan are going to come into this game 3 with a chance, they got to get their head straight, man.
The whiteboard for A&M Maroon, it's got check marks on it. It's looking real great. The whiteboard for Michigan in the locker room, it's on the ground. It's broken from the coach slamming it and trying to give the inspirational speech. Will that be enough? Let's send it to the desk, get their thoughts before we come back and see if Michigan even has a chance to come back.
Ooh, thank you, gentlemen. Game 2 gets taken even more resoundingly by A&M Maroon. Valve, do you take back anything you said about the Charybdis pick? He's muted. I think he's saying that he takes it back 100%.
Hang on.
He totally he 100% takes it back. Control, and he really dominated on that pick.
Despite me being muted and looking like a fool on Smite game, of course. I think that the Charybdis did okay. I mean, like
You won't even
it
give
still it was still getting knocked up by Vamana while trying to go into its 3.
but
It was still dying. I mean,
dominantly worked through that game. Every single lane they were working through. The Super Death thing, 6 levels up at one point,
he
5
had
levels up at one
5
point.
to 6 levels up. And it was just like, you're letting Deathfang do what he wants. There's got to be a response to Deathfang, man. There's been
zero Super Death Thing ban.
We're giving this guy so much credit for what he's doing in these games, man. I lane against Deathfang a lot. He's not a bad player by any means. But to see him look this good is something I don't normally see when I play against him, man. He is looking unstoppable right now.
Yeah, this is a generational showing right now from the solo lane. But at that point, we need to take a quick pause. So game 2 goes to A&M Maroon, and they are on match point in a best of 5. If A&M Maroon wins this next one out, they win the entire set. So don't go anywhere. Game 3 coming soon. We have a quick ad break.
All right, everybody. Here today, we're going to just talk about quickly before we get with this interview with Eric. It's just, once again, it's awesome to have this opportunity for Collegiate Smite to be showcased on this channel for high-res with Smite game. Absolutely awesome. This is a great opportunity, and it's just going to be super cool to go back and look this one day, and you can see just the evolution of, hopefully the evolution of Collegiate Smite going to Smite 2 potentially. So this is an awesome opportunity. And with that, Eric, here from Eric Deck 10, I guess I should say, from Michigan. I mean, you guys have been around for a long time, man.
Well, yeah, we've been, I think, since summer 2021.
Yeah, and you won the first fall championship in 2021 as well. So you guys, 2021 fall champions, Maroon 2023 Fall Champions, Clash of Champions. This is like very, very cool to see. But speaking of that, you played them in the first week of the season, and I was just curious about what is the strength for your team that you think is a weakness for Texas A&M Maroon?
I think early game. I think the way that we play early game versus how they play it is definitely a strength for us. I think the way that we can invade their duo side is definitely a plus for us. But I think like the biggest downfall for us was our late game fights at FG.
I gotcha. I was going to say, like, I was looking back at the VOD, watching it because it's one of the only broadcasts we got to do this year. And looking at the match screenshots, if you're just looking at numbers, you don't necessarily understand, like, what was happening. But if you watch the game, see the game plan, you can see what both teams were trying to do. And game two was like super close. I think it was like 21-16, if I remember correctly. I should remember that since I just talked to Eric earlier. I mean, I talked to Super Death Thing earlier. But it sounds like you have an idea. Like they had a different idea what's the strong versus weak points. So I guess we'll just see what that pans out today. But speaking of that solo side with Super Death Thing, there's like 3 or 4 like very similar god picks. I think it's Kuzumbo, Bologna, and then I think they also both played Cerberus, but I think it was only one time each. Now, obviously, there's been like 3 meta changes so far this year since February. Do you expect the new change with the Equinox to take over in solo lane, or do you think some of these might still be some contested picks?
Yeah, I know. He's gonna spam Vimana, Bologna, or probably Osiris. I wanted to ban Vimana. My team already said we can't ban. We have to ban. Or my team said I said I didn't want to ban Vimana, but my team said that that they wanted to ban Vimana, so I didn't have a choice in that matter. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, it's one of the picks that has been played very little. Actually, not very little. I think it was a couple times for SDF, and he mentioned earlier that obviously that's one of his like go-tos for a long time. They've been around a long time too, like the whole Maroon squad. So, um, it's definitely interesting. I was curious if like we were just going to see some other unique stuff, but it sounds like we're going to see Warriors and who else knows. I mean, the Kuzenbo, I mean, it is good to AAs, so maybe it's still on the table, but we'll see. So for the jungle, my most notable thing, and I talked with all these questions with that thing as well, is that you guys as junglers, they're completely different. They play the game completely differently. They only shared one similar pick this entire season, and it was Camazotz, and both of them played at one time. So with this Equinox change, and we haven't seen either jungler really play auto attack gods, do we think it's going to be more comfort where they're going to be picking what they have been all season, or do you think with the Equinox changes that it might be, sliding over some of these auto attack gods?
Well, based on A&M's match on Tuesday, I can tell you that their jungler is going to be picking uh, the Equinox build, and I know for a fact my jungler won't pick it, but he's just going to be going with what he's been doing all season, like the Bruiser Mulan, um, and his different picks that he likes.
Yeah, he definitely has some unique picks that I don't think anybody else not even like the entire collegiate scene, let alone D1 itself. He's definitely had a couple of those picks that have just out of left field, it would seem, if you don't know the guy. But it's definitely something that is worth noting. So sounds like it may be a takeover for, maybe some item changes was good enough. And for you guys, maybe it's just like, yeah, we're just going to go comfort. We're just going to do what we're going to do. But to move on to your specific matchup at mid, you, Freezing Fantasy, I've watched you guys again like a long time, 2-3 years since we, started doing this, and you guys only had 2 picks that were contested. That could be contested. Looks like it's Loth and Vulcan. Um, do you think has the meta shifted a lot to where you don't think those are really going to be in play, or do you think they still have their place, or do you think it's just going to be, maybe we're just going to pick what best is available?
I personally think that those guys are going to be in play. I just kind of think I don't think I'll even get Thoth tomorrow. I think that'll be insta banned. But I think that Vulcan will be definitely in play. I know Freezing loves his Vulcan. So I'm not sure if we're gonna try to take that away from him or if we're gonna ban him maybe, but he's probably gonna pick Vulcan at least once.
I mean, there's always the eye for an eye method, you know. They take away the thought. You say, "All right, then you don't get the Vulcan," and we see neither the entire game, maybe the entire set, maybe. Never know. But that brings me to my last point, my last question here, and this is about the dual lane. Now, again, like Kano Pies, this has basically been like the classic, always been together dual lane. I don't think there's ever been a change. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they've always been together in this dual lane in the last 3 years.
I think when we first started, we had a different ADC. Kano was once jungle, I believe. When we first started, then he transitioned over the ADC.
I gotcha. So there was a little bit of a shakeup. So my main question I have for this is, how do you deal with these two on a daily basis, man? You've been around them for 3 years. Like they got to get on your nerves, right?
Kano especially. He thinks he just trolls all my games. He just feeds and feeds, and then I have Pies over here just talking in my ear, saying how we need to do this, and he's just on the opposite side of the map when he says it. So I just learned to
Yeah.
tolerate them.
Yeah, and you know what? Now you can't even have that excuse because you got the teleporter. You got to be, look, man, it's available. You'll be here in 3 seconds. You can't use these late excuses on the other side and all this other stuff. But that should be fun. But I appreciate your time, Eric. Best of luck to you today, and I'm just very excited to see how this goes.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to this matchup.
All right, see you guys back on the desk.
It ain't about fame, it ain't about fake friends. The your flake, forget your grades, you need a break. It's all about you, no matter what the others say. But now I'm done talking, the lights on me. I tell you, I guarantee these nights about to take a turn for the better. Now the rain is pouring and all I see is lightning around my feet. Now nothing can bring me down. I just wanna dance till my heart goes la la la. I just wanna dance. I just wanna dance till my heart goes la la la. I just wanna dance. I just wanna dance till my heart goes la la la. I just wanna dance. I just wanna dance till my heart goes la la la. I just wanna dance. It ain't about money, it ain't about the coolest job. It's about having fun and love that wants to make you shine. It's all about you, no matter what the others say. But now I'm done talking, the lights on me. I tell you, I guarantee these nights about to take a turn for the better. Now the rain is pouring and all I see is lightning around my feet. Now nothing can bring me down. I just wanna dance till my heart goes la la la. I just wanna dance. I just wanna dance till my heart goes la la la. I just wanna dance.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are live with Game 3, A&M Maroon, Michigan. We are looking at AGL Collegiate D1 Finals, best of 5. If the A&M Maroon wins this, they win the entire thing. This could be a 3-0 sweep for A&M Maroon against Michigan. It's match point. Valve, what are you thinking now? Give me your thoughts.
Now, Frog did say something very interesting.
He did.
And that is dedicate bans to Deathfang.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because he is putting on a show.
A clinic.
He is running the game. There is nothing. I accidentally just shoved my table and shook my camera because of how much he's running the game. And it's just like, we got to respect Deathfang more. We were
yeah.
before, and then we stopped doing it, and we got punished for it. 6 levels down.
Yeah, if we do a quick rewind to the Game 2 picks and bans, we see that in the ban phase, there weren't any solo laners banned. Kuzenbo wasn't banned. Bologna wasn't banned. Vamana wasn't banned. Now they picked up Vamana, and then Super Deathling and Ebony went Bologna. But there was so much things on the table. Wukong wasn't banned. There were so many picks available, and they were all picks you're comfortable with. At this point, is the best strategy for Michigan just a 5-ban Super Deathfang?
Maybe, because he's ran the lobby the entire time. Maybe you just got to answer him by pushing the button that says you can't play that, you can't play Bologna, you can't play Wukong, you can't play Vamana, or you can't play Kuzenbo. You can't play this. You look too good on him. And maybe it's just that. But Michigan needs something to change.
Maybe my personal opinion is that this game has got to be won in the solo lane. Like, they have to dedicate all of their effort to shutting down Super Deathfang. I mean, but that kind of discredits a lot of what happened in that last game in terms of other roles. There was a lot of other dominant performances that do kind of, and especially over the past 2 games, that deserve some bans. But look, there's a lot of ways this can go. A&M Maroon are on the precipice of a 3-0 in the finals, secure the entire set. Michigan, it seems like they got to go for the Hail Mary here. They got to make it happen.
We gotta put in the gas. We gotta start up the machine again, turn it off, plug it, take it out of the wall, plug it back in. We gotta do something.
Oh yeah.
We gotta throw the whiteboard against the wall, break it, do something. We gotta figure it out.
There's so much potential here for a really interesting game 3, whether that is due to the fact that it becomes much closer due to a DDoS attack on Super Death Fang, or if we go like
In this
completely
really
goofy.
specific hypothetical that
Yes, in
might
this
happen.
very specific
you know,
hypothetical that Super Death Fang's laptop overheats and explodes.
this is his third comp set today. It might.
Yeah, it very well could. He's been
This
playing
dude's
a lot
been
of.
gaming.
He's been balling all day today. And look, okay, here, all right. Here's what we got. I think we established Super Death Fang's the problem right now. Let's go to the picks and bans. It's time for game 3, and we got to see what's going on right now.
I don't want to see this Apollo again.
I
think that's something that I need to put
We
out there.
cannot
That
see
this
Apollo.
Apollo cannot come back. I
All
mean,
right.
there were picks that were up, like Dan Zaburo, Shibalanke. You can run stuff like that. If you want like global pressure and you still want a Kins ADC, you can run Shibalanke or Danza.
Michigan.
And it's just...
So yeah, Michigan so far sticking to their guns, first banning Dodgy. Interesting, I think. Terra gets countered. So far, mirroring the first 2 games. Nothing has changed so far. Dodgy banned first, Terra banned second. What we would generally, I mean, like we say Dodgy, how much of a problem? I mean, Dodgy is pretty.
It's
busted,
got to be
but,
like just the turbo comfort pick. He's probably got like 18 stars on it or something. It's probably that. They probably know each other a bit more than we do, and maybe it's just the best comfort he has. But they ban Hachiman. They're not respecting the Death Fang Bologna. I really hope they do respond to him though, because they're not doing it. And Death Fang was 6 levels at a certain point, man.
Are this, I cannot believe my very eyes. They are banning the same things.
Just want to check the production real quick, making sure that we're in game 3, correct? Just making sure that we're not mirroring. Okay, yeah, we just got confirmation.
Yeah,
that
this is
okay.
this is the
It's
new...
changed. It's changed.
Okay, they banned the Charon this time. Holy, this ban is so unbelievable. We're doubting production. Okay.
They picked the Vamana again. The Vamana looked good last game, but we also gave Bologna again to Death Fang, who ran the entire lobby.
He's gonna pick Bologna again.
And we give him the Vulcan again.
Bologna and
the Vulcan looked really clean last time. He put on a show with the Vulcan, man.
This is unbelievable.
Maybe Fantasy's just sick of...
I cannot believe my very eyes.
Freezing is probably just pissed off that Death Fang is getting all this hype put around him, and he's like, you know what? Let me put on another show with this Vulcan. You know,
man,
it's just insane.
Maybe there's a different solo lane pick that counters Bologna more, but like, you gotta be kidding me. We're sitting here and every single person in the desk in the cast is saying, just ban anything in the solo lane. And no, the only thing that changes from second game is the Charon gets banned. I couldn't tell you.
You could give me Wukong, or you can give me the Croc, and I'll be okay out of solo lane. You can give me Sobek or Wukong, and I'll be okay with that. Wukong's being hovered right now, and do you know what? Even matchups. Sobek can stall the lane, Wukong can also stall the lane. This entire game, Death Fang has kind of just been, showing him who owns the lane, And if you have something that could stall it, and a Khepri pickup too.
Yeah, so I like these picks in against Super Death Fang. They almost like hyper picks against Super Death Fang. Wukong's gonna try and stall out the lane.
Yeah,
Khepri's gonna basically try and get everyone out as soon as possible. I mean, I don't know. At this point, if you're not banning a Super Death Fang, how do you counter it? I could not tell you. This is some advanced tech that Michigan is gonna have to pull something crazy out here that we've never seen before.
If you can stall or lock down Death Fang on this Bologna, maybe we can make it work. Erlong Shen is another pick you need to lock down.
Yeah.
Now you have 2 targets.
That is a really strong phase 1 for Maroon. Alpwash gets banned. I think that is because that's an anti-dive pick, and that's gonna be a counter to the Bologna and the Erlong. I believe that is.
You know what? That does make sense.
I've heard the tech. I've been deep in the tech here, and I think that's the justification. Athena gets banned, and then Heimdall gets banned.
Throwing a bunch of corpses at them as tech? Interesting. The jokes aside, the Ganesha being banned out from Maroon, they're taking away Ferendum's. You know, I will say Ferendum's got a deeper pool in this, but these are just the easy kind of response picks to something like a Wukong. You like pressing the ohm button in front of solo laners and they get angry and smash their keyboards. I mean,
It's very real.
I
Yeah.
haven't broken a keyboard, but you know, I've gotten pretty close. You know?
and I can tell you that'd bring it to the edge right there. But look, I've kind of said it already. The phase 1 Maroon picks have been crazy, and I don't even know what necessarily counts at this point. Hunters, I think we're about to see 2 crazy hunters again. You're gonna start rambling again. I think that's what's gonna happen here.
You're gonna make
I
me
think-
go off. Yeah, you know, I
Yes.
do have a PhD in yapology, so
I think
it's
we're about
just-
to see 2 goofy hunters prediction,
if
and then Collie's still on the board. Collie was a problem last game.
Ollie was
Ollie's-
a massive problem.
Collie's still on the board. We see that there's like in terms of both sides. If you see if Amana's going jungle, then you say Cuckoo is on the board. Toph is on the board. There's a lot of value
You know,
still left in this draft.
The thing with Maroon's draft is that they could still pick Kali, because
They could.
Erlang can play support,
Erlang support would be really funny.
and
I would be.
listen,
Or
there
no,
are some. Go ahead.
Hear me out. Hear me out. Bologna ADC. Erlang goes.
You are right. You could be
Erlang
right.
goes solo. Collie goes jungle. It's crazy. That is some. I know Bologna ADC is a thing that exists. Now, is Bologna ADC better than an actual hunter? I don't know. You may have a disagreement.
Oh look, an actual hunter.
Whoa, Ramen was picked. Actual hunter spotted. No way.
Big.
Atlas gets picked. Hyper aggressive Farron pick. He loves that pick.
I like
Rama.
Atlas too.
Actual hunter spotted. Actual real hunter.
Like a good hunter spotted. Listen, they're in the hunter category. Charybdis and Apollo are both in the hunter category. They're not in the good hunter category though. Rama, I think is pretty solid. Into Bologna though, Bologna does shut down what you want to do. I like the Atlas pick because right now you do still have some flex potential between the Erlang and the Bologna. The Bologna could be going EDC. I have heard, listen, both teams have been talking about some spice.
I think this is not the most insane thing I've said all day.
Ah,
Wei goes hunter. Erlong's going jungle. Bologna's going solo. Vulcan mid Atlas support.
do I got
It's
a pillow down
simple.
here? Hang on.
Yeah, that's
Little-
that. Jingwei, I think hot take. I think Jingwei is probably like number 3 hunter. Like it's probably like that's probably the most reasonable.
I wouldn't say that's wrong, but I wouldn't.
So much self peel.
I think she could
so
be in
much
top
like
5.
I think, dude, I think it's like it's one of those picks to where I think I know for a fact Control Alt I can play this. I know for a fact.
I
that
also
it's good
think this
self-peel.
pick. I think this pick is also not played correctly by a lot of people. I think Control is one of those people who loves to play aggressive, and with Jingwei, you have essentially a built-in teleport.
Yep.
Why are you not just going ballistic at the enemy, running at them, and then walking away with that freedom you have?
I think
then
with
flying
Atlas,
back.
that's what they're gonna. I think with Atlas, that's the plan. The
Exactly.
plan is to push in.
That's what
as
I
hard as
wanna
humanly
see.
Possible. I think this is a very okay. So I was like half expecting this to be like the goofiest draft in the world, and then like Super Death Thing picks up
This
like
might be the best
Dinkion or
draft
something.
they had.
No, this is probably one of the best drafts they've had so far. But I will say, Michigan also. I think
This is
giving
Michigan's best draft.
giving Bologna to Super Death Fang is that's annoying, but it definitely is the best draft they have. Okay, overall, happy with both these drafts. This is it. This is game 3. It's time. We got to switch over to our cast to what could be, maybe not, the last AGL Collegiate at D1 Finals. Game point. Maroon, if they win this, takes it all. Michigan fighting for their life. It's time for the casters. We'll send it to the casters.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Welcome in. It's game 3, babe. Wake up. Michigan and A&M Maroon. A&M Maroon, as they said on the desk, are at the precipice. It's their chance. They're on match point, potentially ready to sweep and cement a back-to-back legacy for Collegiate Smite from AGL. My name is Anthony Malm, Frog by my side, Red Rosy Panda on production. Frog, I already know you've got a million and one thing to say about those pick and bans.
Hey, Anthony, do you see the?
Go on.
Do you see where? I don't. This looks different than how I normally see these teams start. Best of all is over in the dual lane. He's got the Wukong. He's up against the 2v1 over here. And the ADC Kano, he's over in the solo lane. Is not what I was really expecting to have to break down. But I gotta tell you, I was asking for SDF bans. Blink Kepri on the Super Death Fang. That impact, man. Oh my goodness, that is mind blowing. That impact. I was begging for some SDF bans. I'll tell you what though, maybe you don't have to ban him out if you put him in a 2v1, right? You just outman him.
That's the funniest thing I have ever seen. SDF is going to have an uncheckable ego. Regardless of how this game ends, it could be a reverse sweep in my mind. And it wouldn't matter. SDF can hang the starting spots of this game on their bedroom wall.
Yeah, that's man, and you know, I get it. I get that you're trying to 2v1 SDF, but
are they cooking though? Is there cooking here?
No. Well, I mean, look, you can do a lot of cooking. It doesn't have to be good. You can burn something, and you would still technically be cooking. I
mean,
think.
If there's a double kill, they have 6 though.
I think that's more likely the more likely scenario we see is that Super Death Fang gets some crazy 2v1 instead of them actually finding the kill. Now granted, I would imagine that most solo laners don't really have this experience in their belt. It's kind of like when a new pick comes into the meta and they're only good because you don't know how to deal with them yet. I don't know that you've ever played Bologna and had to 2v1 the enemy. That being said, can we consider for a second what kind of spot Michigan has relegated Best of All to? He's going to be under his tower. No, not his tower. He's going to be under the dual lane tower, 2v1ing himself. So it's not like he's going to feel good about that. I guess, you know, a benefit though.
The Bull Demon King.
Yeah, you have 4 people on the right side of the map. A&M Maroon only have 3 people on the right side of the map usually, you would think. But I mean, I guess they've adapted. A&M Maroon have brought in some of their own bits. They've already rotated the support out of the duo lane, which you can't see it, but now the duo lane is in air quotes for the rest of the game.
Even if we give it some benefit, Frog, if you say, wait, there's maybe some tech behind this, they're cooking, it keeps STF under control, there's still don't do math on a cast, there's still a math problem to splitting the farm in a 2v1 on that solo side, so SDF just gets even bigger, and your ADC gets further behind.
Well, I mean, there's potential. Hold that thought, Super Death
no.
Oh, this is not great. It's no Kepriel available yet, so if that had been a kill, he would not have been able to do much about it. But I mean, you talk about the level disparity. I think it still seems decently normal.
Millions dead.
No, man, the rotation.
Millions dead. First blood for SDF. Hey, Rom snipes 1, 2 off the mark, 3 off the mark for Kano. Oh no.
Yeah, I mean, the farm probably actually ends up being pretty normal, right? Because it's not like you wouldn't be splitting in a different game. Like, you would still be splitting. The difference is the deficit that you will be at is going to be felt a little bit stronger, especially when the support Ferendum was like, you didn't come to me, man, I'm coming to you. I'm gonna walk to, like, he wants to be in Kano's face regardless of what lane Kano's in. And I think that's been made perfectly clear. I just don't know how this is in your head. Like, were they prepped for this? They were like,
if it was gonna happen too, go kill SDF on cooldown.
Yeah,
send the army.
But like, what's the conversation? You know, like, they were like, guys, if SDF gets out of control, let's just like do something that nobody else has ever seen before. Like, let's just make it up on the spot. Or do you think they practiced this?
I mean,
Do you
Yeah,
think Best
jungle
of All's
practice.
playing? Do you think Best of All's playing Wukong ADC in ranked?
Wukong duel, perhaps?
I don't.
Takes that Captain
He's
Twig
looking for
approach?
the 1v1. He's looking for it. He's not going to find it. Wavy comes over here and interrupts things. I just don't know how you come to this conclusion, because as much as the switch goes in favor a little bit, right? Like, I think that putting range over in the solo lane, if nothing else, Kano will be able to outrange Super Death Thing. He doesn't have to fight him. But, I mean, that just delays the inevitable, because he's still going to get ahead.
Wavy down below, half health. Brandon looking for the full commit, and Kano going to commit to the snipes. You've got a Rama on the right side. May as well use those snipes, but they didn't do enough damage. Brandon still diving deep, and it's going to be a 4-on-4 on the right-hand side. Wavy's gone. Nakano, but a big pull in from Ferendum. Almost set up SDF, and those health bars for Michigan are looking rough. And A&M Maroon looking for an opportunity. With Earthshaker already gone, the opportunity is a bit gone itself. They'll take a blue buff, though.
This is where, this is where the only real positive comes into play for me, because sure, you have the range in solo, you can avoid fighting Super Death Fang. I still think he farms a little bit better. Kano's going to lose gold to that tower, right? The minion wave's not going to be easy and free for him to clear like it might be in a dual lane against a Jingwei. Where the reason you have to be picking this is for exactly what we just saw. You want the fights. You want fights where ideally you have a man advantage, and even if you don't have a man advantage, the difference between having a Bologna in an early game fight, certainly strong, but the difference between a Sun Wukong being there versus a Rama being there, just going to bring different things. Not necessarily stronger or weaker, but different things that the characters do. More consistent range damage. You have the ultimate, the astral arrows, right? That we could see come through. So far, I think he's hit, I think maybe 1 out of 6 that we've seen him fire. So hopefully he'll, bring that online a little bit later. But that's what you want. You want to be playing for these 4-man fights on the right-hand side. So far, I've done okay at that. It's still a lead for A&M Maroon, though.
Yeah, closer than it's been. That's 7 minutes for the most part for Michigan. I mean, credit where it's due there. And, a couple of things I will say. They're committing to it. Because one thing that would have been atrocious is if they had done that to start and then backed off of it and kind of disrupted all of their farm.
Agreed.
But they're committing to it. They're committing to fights like this. But maybe Maroon has the better fight with the Eagles rally starting it off. Now the pullback onto the Khepri. It's a true 2v2, and this is a tanky 2v2 minus Kano, who's keeping distance wisely. So a death would be pretty difficult. But Frank, the other thing for me that maybe there's a little bit to this potentially is the best is keeping up in farm for the first time this series.
Yeah, he's actually ahead of Super Death Fang,
We're still
technically, not on the other side of the map. But Brandon, he wants Ferendum, and has found him onto the right side. It's these fights. It's the little wins. And I mean, you're banking on A&M Maroon's response being a little bit subpar, a little bit not there. This time, though, best of, he's a little bit caught out of position.
Might have cursed him.
Yeah, might no shot, right? Surely.
There it is. Speaking of, monsters though in farm, control level 11 on that Jingwei. And Super Death Thing in trouble. In the 3v1 on Bologna, gets knocked out of the bludgeon. That could have been problematic. That bludgeon might have changed the whole outlook of this dive. There's the root, but Ferendum's here for safety. So Michigan's saying, all right, my bad. We'll leave SDF alone. But how do you even zoom out on a game like this? How do you find routes to take because you've committed to this? I mean, I've never seen this before, Frog. I'm not sure.
Same. No, I never have either.
But how do you make it? How do you follow through with it? We've seen how they're trying to make it work. Is there a mid-game goal to it? Is there an end goal for this strategy?
Well, I think the end goal is to get to the team fight stage at a level that you haven't been at before. Because every time we've reached 20 minutes so far in Game 1 and Game 2, they have been significantly behind, right? 10+ K gold, 4 or 5 levels in some cases, in some roles. A&M Maroon have found those early advantages. In this game, they're almost just trying to catch them off guard to the point where A&M Maroon can't find those leads. And spots like this might be the way to do it. Look at this rotation.
Eric looking for SDF, who held on to Eagles rally, but the full commit onto the Bologna should bring SDF down. Finally, the Demon's dead. Brandon able to handle Ferendum in that meantime. But what about Sling Wukong on the left-hand side, dealing with that Jingwei? There is an Erlang invading as well onto that Sung Wukong, and now going to be
No
in no
ult
man's land with no
well.
ultimate in sight. Bad news bears to be Sung Wukong. And Control going to dash in. Look for the knock-up. The best does juke that, but this is end in sight for SWK.
Yeah, and you know, at some point with this style of draft, you're going to take a couple of risks, and you might have to experience a little bit of that, because to stay for that, you are ahead in the matchup. You have accomplished your goal. If your goal was to put down SDF, if your goal was to make sure Super Deathwing didn't run the game, I would say that they've done a pretty good job of accomplishing that goal thus far. They just lost the Gold Fury. They're still in the lead. They still have a very small gold lead. And at 11 minutes into the game, better than anything we've seen Michigan do thus far.
But the risk reward for Jingwei Frog is that's got to be too much. I mean, Control is somebody who I've seen play Jingwei at an incredibly high level. I mean, you've created a monster. Frankenstein's monster is roaming on the left-hand side of the map now from your own hands.
Well, the thing is, I mean, go back to the experience charts for a second. A&M Maroon is even in experience. They are Michigan's even ahead in experience, right? Despite that huge ADC level lead, it's the rest of the team that it's split out among.
5 people on the right side of the map at 11.5 minutes. It's not going great for Michigan at the start, but they have a chance to turn it around. A dive in from the best, but the Earthshaker gonna catch him. That's a kill for Freezing Fantasy. Don't forget the Vulcan. The Vulcan was nasty game 1, back here in game 3. A&M Maroon do back up, looking for a new spot to engage. Maybe looking for the Kepri. Kano also low. Ultimate down. The blink in from Wavy. 2-man Taun. Eagles rally. Dead. Rama. Knockback. Kepri. Ultimate Force will die when he comes back to Control. 7 kills. Stack him up for A&M Maroon.
Well, that's what you wanted. You played around the right side of the map. You made it so that these team fights were forced, and A&M answered the call. They came over the right side. They forced a 5-on-5. That is a 12-minute 5-on-5 team fight. That's maybe the earliest I've seen a 5-on-5 in quite a while. And A&M come out on top, right? If you wanted to force the team fight, you probably were looking to win the team fight. So I think that maybe it's even more so that even more work that Michigan have to do, because another problem that we've been seeing the last couple of games is the lack of being able to play on their own terms. They're never the ones starting engagements. They're always on the back foot. And A&M Maroon answering pretty well into this weird style of Michigan. Like, they're adapting on the fly here. But that adaptation was to bring 5 over and start a fight once again on their terms. That Erlang Blink ult led the whole fight.
I don't know about this. They send Kano back over to Duo, but Control is level 15 and had 4 stacks on Rage. Thank you for the 5th, Kano. We appreciate your donation if you are A&M Maroon. I'm shocked they sent the Rama back over there. SDF was close in level to Rama. I mean, it wasn't going great, but it was competitive. The Jingwei, we said it, has been a monster now. You gotta just leave him alone.
Yeah, I mean, if they were looking to shut down SDF, they did that. In the process of doing that, you've created another monster on the map. You've created a 5-level lead Jingwei over on the left side of the map. And I'm with you. Why send Kano back over there? And if you're Kano, why step up? How do you reason stepping up into the Jingwei that's 5 levels ahead of you? Control Alt-I-Eat has the potential to run this game now.
Michigan picking a fight in the mid lane, and Brandon diving under the tier 1 on big baby mode, looking for Freezing Fantasy, but the response so far has been pretty good from A&M Maroon, forcing the blue side to back up. Brandon using beads, gets a Kepri ultimate, all that just to escape, and you still have A&M Maroon standing strong 5 in your mid lane, looking at your tier 1 tower, and they're gonna get it for free. Rama at tier 1 in left does get some farm. Good for Rama, but Primal Fury up. This is a disaster so far.
teleports over to the left-hand side. He's like, Kano, you started this. You started this fight. I will keep it going. He prevents the push. He's now forcing him under the dual lane tower while the team gets Gold
That's
Fury.
a good pyro.
Yeah, a good pyro answer from Michigan. And, you know, for all of what we're saying, right, for all of the maybe fun that we're having at the expense of this draft, this style of play that Michigan have chosen, this is pretty unequivocally one of the best spots they've been in all series.
Agreed.
Right? Like 15 minutes, only down about 2,000 gold, still favoring them in experience across the map. Sure, Control Altaid is a little bit out of control at this moment in time, but you have more damage from this Omni. Eric is 2 levels ahead. You have a level lead in solo and jungle. So there's plenty to hold on to. And you heard what Valve was talking about in the very first death segment of this set. Valve said he talked to Kano. Kano said the team wants to play team fights. Michigan wants to be a team fighting team. And so if their goal was to scale, this is the best shot that they've had at making it to that late game state.
That's very true. And Kano had a great day today of Smite. Over in OSL in playoffs, Kano got a pentakill today. So you would think coming into this game there'd be extra confidence, but instead there's just a Bologna sprinting at you constantly, and Kano might just fall. Maybe has a chance with backup. SDF gonna get the beads, but it doesn't stop the knock-up. The snipes stay alive. That'll buy Kano some time, but look at all the red that has arrived for this fight. A pull onto Wavy, a big baby too, but an Earthshaker does so much. It's time to get out of dodge, but is there any time there? The best is in the sky. Ferendum's running at Agni. Things are looking grim for Michigan, and now they've lost Kano. They will lose Kepri. A&M Maroon continue to roll.
The rotations, the cohesion, it has just been better from A&M Maroon, even in those spots early where you found some advantages by having the man advantage, by surprising A&M Maroon to the 4v4 around early Bull Demon Kings. Now, A&M Maroon they've caught on. They a light bulb popped in their head and they said, okay, these guys want to be team fighting. So every fight since that point, every fight since the 12-minute point, A&M have been grouped up as 5. This is, I don't know about this one, man. This is a 17-minute Fire Giant, but nobody is here to contest.
No wards, no knowledge, no vision. A&M Maroon get themselves a Fire Giant at 17 onto an already strong team. They can really do anything they want now, Frog. They have so much to work with off the back of how hard this Jingwei is hitting. Not to mention the Erlang and the Bologna, who, while yes, even with Michigan, they've accomplished that, they're still hitting hard. It's not like they're behind.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess a fully stacked Rage and a level 18 Hunter will do that for you, because it's like the Hunter is living at 25 minutes or something. Like, he's already there mentally.
Yeah.
So they get the 17-minute Fire Giant, and now this is what A&M Maroon have to do. They may be close to even with experience. They may be pretty even with gold and all said and done, but they've won every 5-on-5. They've dominated every team fight that has happened, and they have the one star player, right? As opposed, there's nobody on Michigan who can tear through the fight the same way that Control Altaid can. And now they've got Fire Giant. Like, I think forcing this fight, this is the right play for an A&M Maroon, just to keep running it down.
The chance could have been maybe if Rama had been able to stay on level, maybe go crit like Jingwei is. You could have some kind of hope of a hard hitter on your side, but the Bologna Erlang makes that really difficult. It's just nothing clicked. That draft was so tough to play around for Michigan, and they're paying the Pied Piper for it.
Yeah, a little bit of a split here. Erlong over on the left-hand side trying to match Kano, and once again just prevent. Kano has been under his tower all game, and now A&M Maroon pushing down this tier 2.
Brandon is looking around that back with a blink, but catches the Aegis of Freezing Fantasy. Will chase down the Vulcan, but you got to go back to the main fight. There is some work to be done there. Ferendum will fall down to the best, but Michigan has taken a lot for this. Big Eagles rally too to bring down the Kepri. The best is in no man's land. Now is 6 feet deep to control Altaid with a double kill.
A 2-for-1 there, and A&M Maroon still in a really good spot to push this down. Still extremely healthy. The ultimates aren't plentiful for either side here. This Phoenix is nobody's able to step up to this red squad and got shredded before he can get up into the sky. A&M Maroon with the, I mean, they don't need the Goldie. They don't need the experience lead. Just the mental dip, the momentum that these guys have in their sails right now. They cannot stop from pressing the W key.
Wow. Everything we were talking about earlier, saying the positives, finding the good in what Michigan was trying to cook up. It feels like the longer the game goes, the more it's going out the window. A&M Maroon now group up in the duo side. They're stepping right into the Phoenix. They do walk back, maybe getting a little over-aggressive, a little too excited. But those positives are gone now for Michigan Frog. The map is now dominated by A&M Maroon. They've got the middle Phoenix. Everything's going their way. And if they catch Michigan again, Frog, I'm worried about how it might go.
This Gold Fury picked up, and I think will be taken down. Michigan have to start thinking about. I'm not even gonna analyze this. This is just, if the best gets out, that's great. But he's like, he I don't know why you stepped up to that. Oh my, the back has to come through. Paizo Doom. Oh man, thin margin, man. And they still have Fire Giant. They're still in a spot to push this down. Not sure they will. You do see the back come through the channel there, but I mean, still 4 members strong. Michigan have a defense. They could try and put up something solid here. And I think that they should, right? Agni has the range. They have all of their ultimates available outside of the best of all. But with these backs coming through, now you start to ask the question, how does Michigan try and fight back into this? How does Michigan try and answer back? And to me, I think you can probably step up to this Fire Giant, to be totally honest with you. Like, I'm not sure they have to. In fact, I know they don't have to. They could let it go and play around the siege if they truly wanted to. But the problem for me has been a lot of Michigan is just taking what A&M Maroon are throwing at them. They're trying to be reactive. They're trying to catch the balls that are thrown by A&M Maroon, when I think that they should be the one on the front foot. I think that might be the way back in. Try and catch somebody out yourself. Try and find something in the jungle. Try and make some crazy solo play. You have a Kepriel. You get one get out of jail free card on something like that. I think that might be the mindset to try and go at these fights with.
Perhaps it's a mindset of do or die, of make the play or go home. A&M Maroon looking to run it back to back. Michigan trying to find their new title. Oh, no. And the best has been caught in solo. Will use the Cloud. Tier 2 is getting pushed by Michigan, but can they even get it? And what will Maroon get as well? The best takes the no man's route and goes down, making Control Alt-I unstoppable. The Tier 2 will fall, but at what cost? That's what we're saying. It's 23 minutes, and Kano's dashing back into Verendum, taking the fight with the Atlas. But this is also buying time. Look at Maroon pulling the Fire Giant, pushing further at their Tier 2. You made a great call. I agreed with. Michigan could have made a contest, could have made an early, kind of safe Hail Mary. Instead, they're handing another push to A&M Maroon.
I think they're just stuck in trying to get to the late game. They want to get all of their power players online. They're putting Kano in positions where he can farm. They're putting their heavy hitters in positions where they can hopefully get to a point in the game where their builds are going to, like, they're playing for the full build angle. And I just don't think that's ever going to be how you beat A&M Maroon. They've consistently been forcing these early 5-on-5s. You got to figure out a way to win a base defense here, to win a mid-game 5-on-5 if you want to ever get to the late game. They're doing the steps out of order a little bit. But because of that, A&M Maroon still have all the pressure. They still have another Fire Giant around their waists and a low mid bird, a weak side birds. They're just pushing it down.
Man. This is PEMDAS for Dyslexia, and A&M Maroon are ready to call game. They're diving at the mid Phoenix. They've got the solo Phoenix eyes on as well. It's down to half. Kano does get saved, but the Earthshaker's already out. Doesn't catch, but Kano will barely get out. But now it's the last chance for Michigan. A&M Maroon are standing in your base. They're unafraid. They're 5 strong with Fire Giant, and Michigan have 4. Nova Mana, Best already diving in, does get out. Kano being looked at by SDF, has to dash away. Is there safety there? The stun's big from Eric and the damage is okay. It's buying some time, but are you only delaying what is inevitable?
That was a lot of damage, though, in that moment for Kano. They kind of just ran at him. He just stacked up quite a bit of shred at this point in the game, close to that kin spike. And that, to me, signals a way back in. As ever small as it may be, the way back in, if they, once again, best spot potentially they've been in all 3 games. That's a crazy thing to say when 10K down is the best spot that you've been in all 3 games. But frankly, yeah. I'm not sure Kano has reached level 20 yet. And that, like, now he's there. He can upgrade his starter. He can get the kin spike. He's got the rest of his team at level 20. The level deficit that was now in ADC has finally been matched. Now you've got a heavy hitter of your own. You've got a couple of them potentially with these upgraded starters coming through. And we're still not in EFG territory. We're in defense territory. It's going to be tough to deal with these fire waves, but if you are, I mean, going back to my earlier point, if you were going to try a Hail Mary, if you were going to try something, this might be your strongest place to do it. You finally got some upgraded starters. What you can't do is get picked. So best of all, he's got to be careful up there in the lane.
Well, we're at a crossroads of reality versus fantasy, and the fantasy for Michigan is maybe trying to finally take a game off A&M Maroon, but the reality is Maroon diving into your Phoenix, unafraid, taking the health bars, dropping Brandon. There goes that duo lane Phoenix as well. A dive in for the best. Kano trying to do anything. Saved by the Capriol, but freezing fantasy pops. 1, control goes down, so there's a chance, a glimmer of hope. Are the snipes enough? No, they are not. Maroon can just back up. Still 4 strong.
You get a shutdown kill, though, onto the ADC, and I do not think that they can end without control ulti-eats damage. So that's the one saving grace. I felt really bad about that because Best of All essentially landed into an Earthshaker that he didn't know was coming, which is really unfortunate, but you get the kill. The shutdown is big onto control ulti-eat, and now, all of a sudden, it feels like they've survived the Fire Giant push, but what has happened, right? They've got all 3 Phoenixes down. That's not great. They have to deal with these fire waves. Also going to be pretty difficult. But think about how this was played in game number 1, right? EFG spawned in game number 1. A&M Maroon, they didn't get baited by it. They didn't pick it up when it spawned. They played a corner in the jungle, and they waited for Michigan to step out of position. They won the game without the EFG, essentially. They won the fight right then and there. And if I'm Michigan, that's living in the back of my mind right now. If I have any hope of stepping up to this Fire Giant, which I'm not sure that they do, and in fact, it's in regular FG. I don't think they should. But
No.
I think that, once again, there's some potential. A&M Maroon are following a lot of the same patterns here. You just have to identify if you're Michigan and hope that you can find them in a weak spot.
Wavy does get a 2-man pin there, but no dive in. A&M Maroon pull the Fire Giant.
Oh, no.
It looks like they're going to keep the best around to consider it, but look at the Warriors. SDF and Wavy have spotted out that Sung Wukong. Agni a bit too close as well. A&M Maroon locked down the Fire Giant. Kepri and Rama have performed on the last couple sieges, Frog, but that's the big positive. Can they keep doing it? Will the Kepri ult still be on point? Will the Rama damage still be there?
We're not even going to wait to find out. A&M Maroon want in already, but this pick could be big. Wavy gets poked down a little bit. You left the carries in mid. They get that mid bird and now are coming around the back. Look at where the 2 lane is.
You may have been caught. A&M Maroon are ready to make another attempt at an end. Can Michigan keep replaying the same hits, or is this the end? Kato is gone. Kepri has to ult himself. Brandon is caught out. This could just be it. Only 2 left standing. Maroon have 5. Diving on in. Cement that legacy. Back to back. Division 1 champions, A&M Maroon, stand tall on this day.
A&M Maroon with, dare I say, flawless performance in all 3 games. Game 1, they were warming up a little bit. Took them a minute to get going, but once they did, Super Deathfang, the star of the show, ran it all the way to game number 2, which was more dominant. You let him get ahead twice. Game number 3, Michigan, they try and come out with an adaptation, but that's the marking of a strong team. The unbeatable teams that you've seen throughout the years, it's not just one player that you're relying on. Any of them can go off and become monsters at any point in time. And you hand the lead over to Control Alt-I-Eat, and A&M Maroon execute down to the wire one more time. A clean 3-0, back on top again for A&M Maroon.
Michigan could not find their way back to the top of Division 1. This is what Collegiate Smite creates, is teams and monsters like A&M Maroon. This is what AGL's been cooking up, and what a show we got put on. Doesn't go great for Michigan, but they did play. We saw the dream, the glimmer of hope in those defenses. It was almost there. That's going to do it for Frog and I. My name is Anthony Malm. Red Rosie Panda was pushing our production. Let's send it back over to the desk to send us home tonight. Look back at the interview. Congratulations to A&M Maroon.
And thank you, ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished individuals who don't conform to gender normalities. That was interesting. I did ask them to kind of throw the whiteboard against the wall and break it.
They did.
I liked it.
I loved it. I was a fan. I was a fan of the role swap, the swap lanes. Loved it. Could not possibly have asked for a better performance from Michigan. But Maroon takes it 3-0. And there's a couple things that I do want to mention. First of all, that Maroon has set several distinct achievements for a lot of first times. First of all, they are the first ever AGL Collegiate team to go back-to-back champions, 2 semesters back-to-back in a row. They are also the only AGL Collegiate team to win both the fall and the spring semesters. This is the first time. This is their first spring victory between Michigan and Maroon. Is the first spring victory between the both of them. The only other time that a fall in, or the only other time that a fall and a spring victory has happened has been one other team. A&M has done a lot, and they've succeeded handily so far. I mean, this has been it was a 3-0 sweep. What an amazing game to watch. Roll swap.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it's not even it wasn't even a role swap, it was just a lane swap. It was
Awesome.
trying to contain Deathfang, and they did that. But then Control Alt-I-Eat just went buck wild and just was going nuts. Level 16, far ahead, and you couldn't even swap Kano back because at the time that I looked, like, I think he was level 10 and Control was level 14. You can't put him back there. The Jingwei had crit already. She's gonna 3-shot him. You can't put him back over there. It was too much. It was too much for them to handle, and A&M was able to group everybody back up together, fight as 5, and they were just stronger. They came in, they were just the better team. Michigan put up a fight, but
Michigan put up a great fight, but Maroon brought it home. Texas A&M is your Division 1 AGL Collegiate champions of the spring 2024 semester. And before we wrap up the stream, it is my duty as an AGL representative to say, if you or any members of the chat room are interested in Collegiate Smite, to contact Aprilis or Majin, who are in the chat right now. There are so many opportunities for Scholastic Smite, and it's very fun. I have met some very, very awesome people playing for a Division 2 A&M team, and part of the reason why I'm even here right now. So if you're interested in Classic Smite, get in contact. Majin, Aprilis, they're in chat. Let them know. And on that note, we're going to play the interview with A&M Maroon one last time. Call it a day. But from the desk, Valve, it's been fun.
It's been great. The vibe's been great here, man.
Look, 3-0. Maroon takes it. My name is ChizU. We're signing
NotAValveGame.
off. About to say, everyone have a good night. And we'll see y'all here in maybe it's Smite 2. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Hey everybody, Majin here. I am with Super Death Thing from Texas A&M, or I should probably say A&M Maroon, as Friendem prefers it. At least I don't know about you. What where do you stand on that? Texas A&M, A&M Maroon. What do you think?
Well, I mean, our team is A&M Maroon, but we do represent all of Texas A&M. Being here, we do have the separate teams, but this team specifically is A&M Maroon.
Yeah, and to think about two really good historic Division One football programs having really good Smite programs today. Of course yourself in Michigan as well. Obviously, just winning a national championship in college football. Had to mention it because we talked about it a little bit in DMs earlier. Just talking about Joe Fisher and Johnny Manziel, kind of things like that. Just wanted to throw that out there. But it's awesome to think about. This is an opportunity for Smite. This is basically like if either team went to the Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, and said, now we're able to bring Kyle Field or Michigan Stadium into Smite Game Channel, which is awesome. So just wanted to say that and get that out of the way. But first of all, I just want to ask you about right away, Michigan. You played in week 1. It was actually one of the only broadcasts we were able to do this season, and if you look at the numbers, it doesn't necessarily look close in some portions. But if you watch the games, you can see the strategy. So, what is something that you guys do well that you also think is a weakness for Michigan?
So I think that one of the things at A&M we've done really well recently is playing through solo. We're really good about that. We know that solo isn't necessarily one of Michigan's strong suits. So whenever we play through there, we're able to get a lot of pressure, and that was kind of how we were able to build our lead to win in week 1. But that being said, it was still a pretty close game. I wouldn't necessarily say it was a comfortable win, but we got the job done and we're ready to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys, I think game 1, I don't remember the score for slash lines for game 1, but I remember game 2 was 21-16. And if anybody who watched that was a really, really close game, that one. But kind of want to divvy to this point to now I for the casters compiled all the data on you guys in Michigan about what picks you've played this season, assumptive ban, stuff like that. And I don't know, do you play anything outside of Kuzenbo and Bell? Is that even possible?
Yeah, I mean, I will say Kuzenbo, Bologna, Vamata, those are definitely my top 3 characters. I try to play them any chance I can, but I did bust out some spicier picks during the season. I played a game of Xing Chen. I played some of the more standard warriors like Wukong, and some Cthulhu during Guardian meta. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see because of how the meta has shifted, and with Conduit Gym out, it just inherently means that Guardians are going to be less played. So I'm excited to get some auto attack warriors in hopefully this set.
Yeah, and that was going to be part of my next question, because obviously we just had a patch on Tuesday. Both teams, I don't know if you were able to practice PTS or anything like that, but this Equinox taking over everywhere right now in the jungle, in solo as well, it seems to be. So do you fully expect there to be just strictly AA warriors, or do you think it'll be more broad?
It could maybe be more broad. But one of the things that I kind of like to do, I don't know if you saw game 2 against St. Ambrose in the semifinals, but I turned Cucullin, who most people wouldn't really think of as an auto attack warrior, and I kind of turned him into one. With Frostbound, Shoguns, Berserkers, Equinox, Acts of Animosity. But I do think that whatever warriors are going to be played, they'll probably be like an Acts of Animosity abuser.
I gotcha, and that honestly sounds like in season 5 when Captain Twig was like playing Mercury, but doing like Frostbound and tanky items, and then
Oh
just,
yeah.
like that's what I was thinking of when you said that. But also, when I ask you the question about the A warriors, it makes me think about Kuzenbo still being valuable potentially because of how his kit works. Do you think he's still relevant? Both teams seem to play him a lot.
Yeah, so I know their solo laner, Best of All 16. He's also a big Kuzenbo enthusiast. I could definitely see some Kuzenbo getting played. He does feel good, especially into certain auto attack warriors like Erlong. If an Erlong's played, it feels good because of all the procs that happen with his thorns. But I do think Kuzenbo is still viable, just not. I don't think he's going to be the end all be all character that you'll see pick banned every game like he was during Guardian meta.
Okay, I can see that. So the next portion I want to talk about is actually one roll over is jungle. Now, these two junglers have very unique and different god pools.
I would agree.
The only pick that they both have played, and it's just one time each this season, is Camazotz. And everything else, like, well, Brandon's playing Mulan, he's playing Nike, he's doing like all kind of things, and then you just wavies on like any pick that's an assassin that you can name. Do you think there's in this meta that we just shifted to because of the auto attack item now, the Equinox replacing Golden Blade? Do you think that might favor either team because it is so new and because not really, to be honest, I mean, neither of them really have played those types of picks.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I think it'll definitely change things up. I think it will slightly benefit A&M Maroon just because of it benefits my god pool a bit more, but also Wavy has been playing a lot of Erlong. He played Erlong in the semifinals, went kind of crazy on it in game 1. But I just really haven't seen that from Brandon. He's been going if it's a warrior, it's a more standard warrior, like an ability base, not necessarily an auto attack. So I would say overall it does benefit A&M Maroon a little bit more.
I gotcha. We'll shift to one more lane or one more position over. We'll talk about the mid lane now. The only two picks that are, but again, this is similar. Like these guys are just different in their styles of picks and whatnot. Fantasy, I've seen him play everything in the game, so I know he can play everything in the game. Same thing for Eric as well. But the only two picks they both played this season, and I think it was like 2 times each, are Vulcan and Thoth. Do you think those will be contested picks now with the meta shifting a little bit, or do you think those are kind of falling away?
So I know for sure that that Vulcan's going to be pretty highly contested. It's a Vulcan just inherently is very he's very jumpy. He's slippery. He's able to kind of get around, which is exactly the type of god you want in mid lane into auto attack warriors. So I think that we still probably will be seeing a lot of Vulcan. But with Thoth, I'm not as sure because he doesn't really like seeing all these warriors that are up in his face, after he dashes. So I'm not exactly too sure on Thoth, but I do know it is one of Eric's best picks. So I wouldn't be shocked if I saw a lot of it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. Just knowing the players, we've been doing this for you guys, the last 3.5 years, I think it has been.
Yeah.
So being able to watch a lot of these players, you usually, like, if you watch that much, their god pool. It's like if you turn into SPL and you're like, oh, there's Venenu, I know what he plays, I know what he can pick away from the other team. Oh, there's Beniq, he does these picks, nobody else plays. Same